November 1910. 7 bankers meeting in secret to create America's central bank. We just can't call it that.
The 1907 panic nearly destroyed us. Banks failed, fortunes vanished.
We want to control America's money supply, create booms, trigger busts, and profit from both. And how will we do that?
We'll create money from nothing, loan it to the government, and charge interest. Legal counterfeiting, my friends.
But there's a cost. Every dollar we print steals value from existing dollars. It's a hidden tax that flows directly to us.
And it gets worse. If we ever get off the gold standard, governments can print money for wars. Endless wars become possible and profitable.
Since Americans hate central banks, we'll call it the Federal Reserve. Sounds governmental, doesn't it?
It's not. The president will appoint board members, but we'll pick who he appoints. We'll have 12 regional banks. Looks decentralized, democratic even, but New York banks control them all. That's us.
You're probably wondering how we're going to get this through Congress.
December 23rd, 1913. Most of Congress home for Christmas. Perfect timing for passing unpopular legislation. I'll publicly oppose our own bill in Congress. They'll pass it thinking they beat Wall Street. We'll fund university chairs, write the textbooks. They'll teach our system as economic science. Beautiful. Every American born after this will inherit debt on money we created from nothing. Generational servitude.
The Federal Reserve. Not federal, no reserves, but everyone will think it's their government protecting them.
Good afternoon.
What about now? Am I good? You got to give me a break on this one, guys. You got to give me a break. Am I working? Am I working? Okay. What about now? What about now? Okay, good. All right, cool. So here's what I was saying. I was saying if you didn't know that little bit of history, that has to deal with Jekyll Island when the Fed was created. And all of that, it sounds like satire, but it's all very true. Lawrence Leopard wrote a good book where he highlighted some of that. And again, there's an actual book about Jekyll Island and the creation of the Fed that you should look at too. The CleanSpark CEO resigned. Matt Schultz is gone. Interesting. Has that helped the stock? Let's see. Pre-market up 2.28%. Mara up 3.58%. So my balls are not in perfect shape. I've actually had a hell of a week and a half here. So I was talking to my friend Tom Nash. He asked how I was doing, and I said, good, had surgery on my right nut a week ago, 0 out of 10 stars. Had a person that shot someone captured in my backyard last night. That is no joke. Evidently, somebody shot somebody in one city and was on a police chase that ended out in my back or along the side of my house, and this person jumped out, ran down the driveway, and then we heard gunshots, and then eventually they found him. And I've canceled the deal on the house. I gave the people the earnest money, $10,000 for free. I think they would have much rather had me buy the house from them than me backing out. I just couldn't. The deal sucked. The interest rate was high. The fees were exorbitant. And I was sitting there thinking, like, why should I do this now when I can wait until spring, get a really kick-ass rate because then they can include my income. Which they couldn't do because I didn't really have any, and then there's a delay when you get paid from X, and then they average it out over 12 months annualized. Anyway, so that's been the last week and a half for me. Nut surgery, people getting shot outside of my house, and then canceling a home deal. So it's been fun. It's been a good time. I do want to cover a lot here, so yeah, let me see. So hopefully that answers some questions for you guys. Jesse, in the Metaplanet Orange, not gay. Don't know what all that means. Zach Bradford gone. Oh yeah, Zach. I'm sorry. Zach is I forget the positions between Matt and Zach. Yeah, okay. Matt Schultz is stepping in as the CEO. Okay. I actually like Zach. probably as much, if not better. So I don't know what to think of that. But you know what I think this says? This actually talks to something. So we got a few things to go over today. So there's this minute that's about 18, or this video that's about 18 minutes and 42 seconds long. It's from a friend, Mark Moss, who does a great job doing something that I've been saying I was going to do for a long time and haven't done. There's about 20 probably metrics I follow in regard to cycle top indicators. There's a whole bunch of them. MBRZ score, Pi cycle top. There's a ton of ways to do it, right? And none of them have triggered, but he does go into some of the key ones on here. So anybody who's kind of new, doesn't understand the halving, a bunch of other things. He talks about that, and then he talks about some of the indicators that he likes to follow, and then he has a follow-up video. I might watch this just for a second too, to educate a few of you guys who maybe don't know cycles as well. We might cover a little bit of that very briefly. But also, I want to talk about something. I want to talk about something I haven't talked about. Let me just see if I can find it real quick here. Post I did over the weekend. So here's a good one. This isn't what I was looking for, but it's pretty good. So if you look over here, oh, hey, do we have data coming out? Strong July consumer spending. All right. Do we have actual data? Let me jump over here real quick. Did we already get that out? Or are they just talking about CPI coming up? That's probably what they're doing. Let me just check something real quick, guys. Want to double check, make sure I'm familiar with what data is coming out this morning. I know the big data comes Wednesday, Thursday. I don't really know if we have much. Yeah, we don't have anything today. So tomorrow we get NFIB business optimism. We get core inflation and inflation, and then CPI. And then Wednesday comes in with looks like a bunch of mortgage stuff. And then Thursday is PPI. So it looks like starting Tuesday is where the fun is going to start. Dookie Pie, my bad. Thank you for the $1. Appreciate you, sir. Good morning, everybody. All right, so we don't have too much on that front. Also, too, real quickly. So I'm just going to close this. Fear and greed, not looking bad. We're just slightly in the greed territory. That's probably a good place to be. Coin market cap, again, very similar. Just barely broke out of neutral territory on the coin market cap crypto fear and greed index. Inflation-related data doesn't look super crazy. Let's just refresh and make sure we got the latest. You don't like how green everything is? If it makes you feel better, it's not that green. If you look in the bottom right corner, you'll actually see that we fell back from hitting the second fib line on our trend-based Fibonacci extension level. So we perfectly hit it, and then we retraced. So it's not green, actually. It's, if anything, it's going down, I'd say, in the open to close the gap that's created on the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And then I think we start to go up more. The thing I like, though, is I like seeing like stocks like BMNR up 12% in pre-market while this is happening. SBET up 8.3% in pre-market. Looking over at the UK and seeing that Smarter Web Company's up about 4.5%. Looking at DFDV, a Solana treasury play, it's up 5.5%. UPXI, another Solana treasury play, up 3%. So just looking at some of these, and again, and DN3, guys, DN3, a Meta Planet play in Germany, in pre-market, up 7%. Yeah, Frank's literally, we're on the same page, man. Up 7% in pre-market. And then again, some of the miners are starting to pop 3.5% for Mara, 2% for CleanSpark. Maybe they don't like the CEO change. And then Iron up 3.63. What's also interesting is we have Microstrategy up about 3%. It looks like it's bouncing really well. Technically, everything is starting to look really, really pretty. And I think, again, this retracement that you see in the bottom right-hand corner, that way, and Bitcoin's price action, I think that's a really healthy thing. I think that's a really healthy thing where we want to see, and I'll just zoom in a little bit here, where we want to see this retracement. I have this percentage over here. This is to get to the all-time high in Bitcoin's price. So we're currently sitting, I have an eye doctor appointment tomorrow, about 2.5% away from a new all-time high in Bitcoin's price action. So I actually think this is good. I think this is healthy. I like to see things kind of retracing heading into the pre-market, like up over the weekend, come back in pre-market on Monday, try and close at least some of that CME gap, if not all of it, and then go back up again. I also like the fact that we're just barely in the greed territory out of neutral from last week, both in the crypto world and in the stock-related world. Yeah, I think all of these things are good. And let's just check the CME Fed Watch tool and see how we're sitting for our first rate cut in the middle of September. I think that's still very much on par. It looks like 87% chance almost on September 17th. Historically, guys, and we'll look at some of this in a little bit, historically what happens is we run in August for crypto and Bitcoin, and then we could get a retracement in September, usually about the middle. So to me, I'm probably in the court right now that we run up until the rate cut, the Fed rate decision, and then the Fed rate decision is a sell the news event. At least that's where I'm at right now. Sell the news event. Historically, if you look, we'll look at something in a little bit here from my friend Benjamin Cohen. But it just simply references how in September we usually have a drop, and in the Bitcoin crypto world. And I think that's what's going to happen here too. And also for August and September in the stock world, we're going to look at another chart that shows how that is usually flat. So I think we're going to kind of peak out in the stock world, start to run in Bitcoin and crypto, and then again in September maybe we have a retracement of some kind before we have our final leg up. That's what normally happens in a cycle. This time could be different. I'm not going to say it is until I feel really confident that it is, and that's probably not going to be until like October maybe. So you might have to wait and just keep tuning in. All right. Anyway, let me look at chat here. Good morning. Good morning. Down under, now your eyes. Oh, man. Dookie Pie. Down under, and now your eyes. Yeah, dude, I've got so much going on. Yeah, so my vision isn't that great, but it's just macular degeneration. It's just the normal stuff of being in your late 40s. So that's okay. That doesn't bother me. And then I got a dental appointment tomorrow. And then I've still got this surgery, guys. My nut surgery was my first surgery for the year. I've got another one taking out a large mass in my leg to make sure that it's not cancerous. And then I've got to get a bunch of blood work too. So health is wealth, not just money. Trust me. Health is very, very, very important in your life. Take care of it. Otherwise, none of the other shit matters. All right. Let's real quickly. So before we go down all this other rabbit hole, I might just jump into this Mark Moss video a little bit. I just think this is great. And some of you guys are newer, and I want you to understand these cycles better. And it won't take long. And I'll interject in a little bit here. I'll probably do it at like 1.25x. And we might jump a little bit. We might jump around just a little bit. Rebecca says, hey, Jesse, I have one question for you. How do you see BTC and miners being affected as tokenization begins to take place with possible meme coins and ETH on Solana? Yeah, I don't think there's very different plays. I know Joseph Lubin, who helped co-create Ethereum, would love to tell you that Bitcoin is getting ready to be flipped by Ethereum. That's just not going to happen. And I know Tom Lee is very bullish on Ethereum too, and I think he should be. I think the narrative around stablecoins is a really good one. I think Solana and Ethereum will end up doing well. Solana's just a much smaller market cap. If we look over here, I'll just pull it over. If we look over here, you can see the size of Solana. Solana is what? $96 billion. Ethereum is 504. So it is 5x the size of this other one, Solana. So just by percentages alone, we talk about this a lot. Some people don't talk about this, and I have no idea why. Obviously, Bitcoin is going to move a little bit slower as a $2.4 trillion asset, right? And Ethereum being a 504 billion, basically, again, 22% roughly of Bitcoin size, it's probably going to move more here now that altcoin season's coming in. And altcoin season is going to be mostly Ethereum, Solana, and a few others. It's not going to be all the stuff anymore, guys. And we're going to show you a chart on that, again, courtesy of Benjamin Cohen. But we got 2.4 trillion here. We got 500 billion-ish right here, right? And then over here, we've got in the 90s. So can you see why these smaller things are going to give you a greater return? Because it takes a lot less capital going into them to have it go up a lot. Okay? So yeah, really sounds good to me. Oh, no, that was from earlier. I had the mic off. It's been a long time. Hit the like, guys. Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great. Good morning from Queens, New York, my guy. Come by anytime. I'll get you bacon, egg, and cheese bagel. That sounds good, man. I've never been to New York City. That is a place. I've been to a lot of places, especially like down in the Southeast, and then in other parts of the country. But yeah, I've never been to New York, and I want to go. I want to travel more. The good parts, though. I don't want to be in the shitty parts where I'm going to get mugged. And I'm definitely not taking the train. Matthew Schultz is coming back again. Yeah. I like Zach Bradford, man. I like Zach Bradford. Connor, Jesse, good morning. What do you think the CAGR, that's compound annual growth rate of BTC, is over the next 10 years? I think 30% is a really low gauge. I think that same thing for Tesla. I think they just fire off at different points. But again, it's been much higher than that for Bitcoin, but I think we start to level out a little bit. So if we're going out to, like, let's say, and maybe not 10 years, I won't say 10 years, I'll say till 2030, we're getting at least 30 to 40% CAGR, which is a really good number for something that is like going to be the world reserve asset in the future. Like, it's going to be. So I think that's a really good rate of return for something that's kind of a guarantee, right? Anyway, let's get to it. We got a lot to cover. My balls are doing okay so far, guys. So this is good stuff. Let's take a look here real quickly and listen to Mark Moss. Again, great video.
Talking about the Pi cycle top, and it's been 100% accurate at calling every single Bitcoin cycle top for over a decade. But when I analyzed what it's predicting and then I cross-checked it, I found something that completely changes everything. Because if this indicator is wrong, well, what does it mean for everything else? Now, I've been building and selling tech companies for decades. I'm a partner at a leading Bitcoin venture fund. I'm an officer of a publicly traded Bitcoin company, and these are the same analysis tools that we use to make million-dollar decisions. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why our most trusted timing.
See, the thing I like about Mark is he actually gives you a lot in this video, and especially for newcomers, it's just a really great way to understand quickly previous cycles and then some of the key indicators that you can use to determine when the top comes. And like the Pi cycle top has been like perfect. There's a few others that are really close to that too. So I think there'll be a ton of signs when we're nearing the top, guys, and we'll be paying attention to all of those. I'm going to be, now that I got my first surgery done, I'm going to spend a shit ton of time in the next 2 months, guys. Yeah, I can share the link. I'm going to spend a shit ton of time over the next 2 months. My life is going to be eating and breathing this shit. So that I can't say retire with generational wealth because I already did that like 5 years ago, but so that I can really, really ensure I want to be over $10-20 million this cycle. And I want to change the life of not just myself, but the people I love and that are around me. And we're going to make that shit happen. So that giving 2 months of my life, to make it to where, you know, I don't have to worry about anything for the rest of it. And maybe my children or my daughter doesn't either, sounds pretty great. It sounds like a worthwhile exchange of time. Again, people spend their entire life working, and in some cases never accomplish anything, never have. And by that I mean financially. Let's be clear, you can accomplish a lot outside of work, right? Probably more important stuff. But you spend a huge amount of your time at work. And if you're going to be spending a huge amount of your time working and you don't necessarily love your job, and this is for the people who don't love what they do, and even if you love what you do, financial independence just gives you more opportunities, right? Maybe you end up creating the company instead of just being a member of it. Because you've made yourself financially independent. But it's important, I think, to prioritize some of your time. If you're not spending 2 to 5 hours a week trying to figure out how to make yourself financially independent, like, why not? Why not? Is that a lot of time? Maybe read The Art of Not Giving a Fuck and then not give a fuck about your work so much and spend 5 to 10 hours that you would have spent busting your balls at a fucking place you hate, and figure out how to create generational wealth in the years ahead so that you don't have to do that anymore. That's what I did. I just waited way too long. I waited to my 40s to figure that shit out. And I suggest everybody do it way before then. CleanSpark CEO resigned. Yes, we saw that, Toby. Thank you, though. Here we go. Let's keep going.
Tool might be leading everyone astray this cycle. So let's go. All right, we're going to have some fun here. We are going to sort of predict where the price of Bitcoin will be at the end of the cycle. I'll explain what cycles are. And of course, like all my videos, we're not going off of gut checks or guesses. We're going to use data to get there. And then I'm going to show you all this data together, and then I'll tell you how we use this data. Okay, so the first thing is, you probably already know this, but if you don't, Bitcoin sort of moves on these 4-year cycles. Now,
this is rudimentary, but we'll get through it quick.
4-year cycles are halving cycles where the new supply issuance of Bitcoin gets cut in half every 4 years, causing a supply-demand shock. Okay, now this is sort of turned into a predictable pattern that we have over time. Now we can see sort of like this, and if you're good at patterns, like maybe like an elementary kid could be, you would see that in 2012, we had this pattern, and then it took off. In 2016, we had the same pattern, and then it took off. In the next cycle, in 2020, we had the same pattern, and then it took off. And now we have the same pattern, and what would happen next? Most likely, it's going to take off again, right? So we sort of have that. You can recognize those patterns. Now, if you look at it in a chart basis, it looks a little bit different. And what you can see is that we have these halving cycles that happened right here, and each one corresponded with a peak. So every time we have this, we get these peaks. Now, there's a delay in which that happens. Typically, the bottom.
Sorry, real quickly, for people that are talking about SBET, yes, SBET is down, I think, this morning, but I also thought they did another huge offering recently. So it's just from share dilution. Don't worry about it. It will get caught up. I've been saying this for a while. I know Chicken Genius is huge on SBET, along with a bunch of other people. I think it's going to be the laggard. I think BMNR, BitMiner with Tom Lee, is going to be the leader. It's just got a more powerful team behind it. And so at least that's my view. And so I think that one's going to be the leader, which it's proven to be, which is why I rotated out of SBET into BitMiner with a larger position. I think I'm sitting 55, maybe 60% BitMiner versus SBET right now. But I do believe that SBET will catch up later on. So it's the entire Ethereum space is just going to scream higher. Baby buy from Sailor. Yep. That's because he's not issuing stock. So he bought 155 Bitcoins. That's perfectly okay.
The bottom of the price, the lower end, is typically 12 to 18 months after the peak. And then the top is typically 1 to 2 years after the halving. Okay, so that's how it works. So what we can do is we can look at the halving, which happened in May of last year, and we could estimate that about 1 to 2 years, about 18 months, is going to put it about the end of this year. But look, these are ranges here, okay? So just let me give you that. Now, if you look at it sort of in this 4-year chart, some of you might have seen this bar chart. It looks like this, where we typically have, so this is going all the way back to 2011 right here. So we can see like 3 green years and a red year. 3 green years and a red year. Now we've had 3 green years, and what happens next? That's anyone's guess.
Yeah, it's literally so consistent. 3 green, red, 3 green, red, and this 3 green, red yet again. And we just had a quicker cycle here. The first time around when this thing really started to become big and get born, you're going to have a discrepancy in the cycle because it's just so much more volatile in both directions, which means the timeline usually gets shortened. So this one was only 2, but so anyway, so 3 is probably right. 4 would not happen. I don't think people can think that we just keep going up into 2026 or all the way through 2026. I think we're going to, if anything, explode to the upside because there's irrational exuberance. Human beings are involved, and they're irrational creatures. They were irrational when Bitcoin was at 15,000 not too long ago, and I was buying the shit out of it and talking to an empty room, trying to tell people to buy Bitcoin. Nobody wanted it. Nobody fucking listened to me. Most of you guys probably weren't even paying attention. Maybe some of you guys were. A lot of you guys have been in this for a while, But yeah, so people are irrational. When they should buy, they don't buy. I was screaming, like, example, last week. I was telling people, I literally said, Metaplanet has bottomed. I said, SWC has bottomed. I said, I spelled out, like, this is the time. If you got in too early and got excited because I was showing you green days, now is the time where you double down. And I'd say a lot of people probably didn't do that. But now, when they see BMNR going up 25% on Friday, and then it's up almost 12% in pre-market right now, they're like, oh shit, you know what I should do? I should buy BMNR now that it costs 50% more than it did fucking last week when Jesse was telling me to buy it. I should buy it right now. I mean, you guys do you, but again, things are irrational. My whole point is that people chase money all the time. And it would really dumbfound me if within 2025, we don't have some crazy irrational peak where everybody's excited and I'm telling you to get the fuck out and half of you aren't listening to me. And then we drop, and maybe we drop just like 30 to 50%. Maybe that's all it is. That's fine. Every cycle, you drop less. There's this guy, the great Matsy or something. He's fucking retarded. He's talking about how Bitcoin's getting ready to drop to 30K. He's an absolute idiot. If you Grok fact check him, Grok will be like, I can find 18 times where he's predicted the end of Bitcoin this cycle starting at like 30K. So if you want to listen to that guy, go ahead. But yeah, so I think irrational exuberance is coming. It is. BMNR has over 1.1 million Ethereum now. Did they get more? Just 1 second, guys. I got to see this. Did we get more BMNR? There's so much to go over too. I'm actually feeling pretty good. This is crazy. I feel okay. I thought I was going to be rough this morning, but I'm doing okay. That's a good feeling. Holy shit. Holy shit. 1.15 million Ethereum. No wonder the price was pumping over the fucking weekend. Yeah, so can you see why? Do you see why more of my money's in BMNR? I don't bet against Tom Lee. I just don't. Now, guys, here's the thing. We're starting to see the market drop a little bit in the morning. We want that, actually. We want weakness into the morning. We had strength over the weekend. We want weakness in the morning, then heading into open, and then we want the day to close higher. When does Mr. Lee delude us? All the fucking time. All the time, Mike. I'm guessing all the time. I wouldn't try and time dilutions, guys, because the market's going to be weird on how that works. I mean, you could try and do that, but trading in and out of this shit, I don't know. That's too much work for me. Now, I'm Dotton. Morning, Jesse. Great to see you back. Hope your balls are doing better. Thank you, sir. I've never had so many men caring about my balls. It's a wonderful time. BMNR, looking for group, eternally grateful. Yes, sir. That's awesome. Yeah, so anyway, that's exciting. That's pretty exciting. I'm not going to lie. I don't hate this. I don't hate this at all. All right, let's keep going, though. Got to get this video done. Damn it.
But for those who think Bitcoin is too volatile, look at this price right here. Look how it sits in that range. Okay, but again, we're going to have some fun. We're going to think about where this price goes. But what we do also want to keep in mind, because we're looking at data here, is what we can see in the cycle, first, second, third, fourth. We can see the price at the
Did he get that same board as me, Kevin?
bottom, 255, 312, 3,200, and 15.5. Pretty good. We can see the peak price here. But what we're looking at is the multiple. So it went up 444 times in the first cycle, 62 times, 21 times, and yet we don't know right here because we're still...
And I want to argue that it would have been more than 21. It probably would have been like 30x. If the third cycle in the end of 2021 didn't see the Fed raising rates at the most aggressive rate in history, I think we would have got it to 30. So I want you to remember that, because there are diminishing returns every cycle, obviously, because of economies of scale and this getting much bigger, you're going to get a lower percentage of return or a lower multiple, right? Well, that's what we were just talking about with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. So I do believe it would be smaller, but you can't just look at it. You can't look at it as being a lot smaller than the third halving, because there's diminishing returns on how much this drops by the number of X, just based on how math works. And then we had it neutered last cycle.
In the cycle. So this is like the law of diminishing returns, or what we call the law of large numbers. So as the number gets bigger, it's harder to move.
Holy shit, Sequoians is up 5% in pre-market. Does anybody think that'll last? I'm rooting for it. I got a shit ton of options in it.
But more explosively. Returns in the cycle, 44,000%, 6,000%, 2,000%, and again, to be determined here. All right, now, again, we're going to use this to try to guess what the price will be. Not so much the time, but the price. Okay, there's a couple problems here and some promises that we have. The first promise is that the pi cycle top indicator is the most accurate one. I call it the holy grail of investing. It's nailed it almost perfectly every time. All right, but with financial indicators, we don't ever use just one indicator. We want to look at a bunch of indicators and see how these all come together. So we're going to look at a handful. First, look at the holy grail, look at a handful.
So again, I think this is a great video to send to your friends if they're kind of new to some of this stuff, don't understand halvings, or if they're good with analytics, but they don't really know a lot about the data and the path of Bitcoin and what it goes through, and again, how to time tops, all this stuff. This is a great one to give somebody like a confidence starter pack. I just threw it inside of there again. So you got it in chat.
And then, like I said, I want to tell you what this means both for Bitcoin itself, but also what I call Bitcoin proxies like Microstrategy, formerly, now Strategy, and what that might mean for a company like that, a Bitcoin treasury company. Okay, so let's first look at the holy grail of indicators, which is the pi cycle top. And again, we call it that because it's been 100% accurate. Now, the way it works is basically it takes moving average.
Now, I have Crypto Quant, guys. I haven't been using it much right now, but I have Crypto Quant, and with that, I have a ton of indicators that I'm following, including this. And as we get closer to the cycle end, I will be notifying you each time one of these things triggers, and my thoughts on it triggering, and then the overall number that have triggered that have indicated that we're nearing the top. So we'll be using all of that, plus my knowledge about everything that I'm going to be just spending endless amounts of time on over the next 2 months, in order to be able to ensure that we do the best job possible at trying to time the top. And we have a smart crew in here too. It's not just me, it's a lot of you guys.
There's the 111 daily moving average, and then it takes the three.
Thoughts on Coincilium, CINGF? I don't fucking know, man. It seems like a really disappointing company. My thoughts are maybe it turns to dust. My thoughts are also, though, all boats float. So this thing could just end up going up because people don't give a shit and they just they're looking for hey, which one hasn't run yet? Oh, Coincilium hasn't run yet. Oh, and it's got a small market cap. Oh, and the growth rates are right. Oh, dude, this one's undervalued. We should talk about it on our YouTube channel and push it higher. So I could see that taking care of it, but I don't think they're like an SWC or any of these other companies. Again, SWC is like the big competition within the UK. They're not that. I like Andrew way better than I like the leads of Coincilium Group. I just don't think it's the same. We are going to talk to you guys about the difference between Bitcoin miners and Ethereum treasuries and Bitcoin treasuries. I've got a post on that we'll go over too. We're rocking it today. We're going to give you guys a lot of good stuff, but let's keep moving.
350 daily moving average times 2. So when those indicators cross, or when the moving averages cross, it typically signals a top. Let's take a look at it. The track record from 2013, 2017, and 2021. So here we have, in 2013, here's the dotted line, and it nailed that top just perfectly. The next cycle, here's the dotted line, and it nailed that top perfectly. 2021, the dotted line, and it nailed that top perfectly. Every time.
So isn't that amazing? If you just followed the pi cycle and then got the fuck out, you literally would have timed the top perfectly. And this is the transition from the yellow to the green line, just based on simple moving averages that they utilized. So again, if you wanted to be super fucking safe, you should be out of your multipliers by the time that happens. You should be. Now, could it go a little bit higher? Sure. But I just want to remind people of something that's very important. Bitcoin right now has done more than 10x. Okay? It's done more than 10x. It was at 15,000. It's at 120 right now. So if you've made 10x your money, and let's say we go up another 50%, you're up 15, 16x, right? Like a lot. You've done really, really well. Maybe you're getting close to 20 because of how high we are. Do you really give a shit about the last doubling if you've made 15 to 20x your money? Do you care about that last doubling of your money? It shouldn't be as important to you, because there might be other things that are undervalued that you can invest your money into that aren't near the top of a normal 4-year cycle where people are saying this time is different. And don't get me wrong, I do think this time is different, but I don't think human nature is different. It's very, very consistent. And human nature will bid this bitch up and make it to where people are irrational. And then you'll want to get out right when you feel like you shouldn't, because you might get just a little bit more, like that gambler addict mentality. You'll need to get out, and I'm going to try and be your shaman and helping you with that. I can't promise perfection, but man, I'm going to work fucking hard to get close.
Pretty amazing. So basically what we have the moving averages, which is the green line and the yellow line. So when the green line moves above the yellow line, it signals the top. When the green line moves above the yellow line, it signals the top. And as you can see right here.
And to be clear, on this cycle, this last cycle, I got out right about over here. Right about over here. I didn't get out right at the top. I got out in like the upper 40s with 80% of my portfolio. I still thought there was a chance it could curve around, but I mean, I should have known better. The Fed raising rates at the most aggressive rate in history was the problem, right? And I should have known better not to do that, but I didn't use common sense. We're all going to keep each other in check because you guys will make me accountable too, which I love. But I should have gotten out over here, and then I did actually take some profits near here. I took too many on the way up because it was just straight up, and so I took profits too early. This cycle is so different, just this steady pace up, and now I think we're getting ready to hit some parabola. But the last one was just straight up, but I took profits too early, and then when we got to the top, I took a good chunk. I was actually smart about that. Then it crashed. Then I bought that dip. Then it went up. I should have been selling up here. I didn't really sell any. And then it came back over to here, and then that pattern got scary because then you're in a rising like a bear flag. I think it's hard to kind of look right here, but it basically looks like, or a rising broadening wedge is probably a better description of what it was at the time. And so you're in a bearish pattern. And so before it rolled over, I said, GTFO, let's get the fuck out. A bunch of indicators have already tripped, and this is right on the edge of collapse. And so I was smart enough to do that, and then I bought that shit hard all the way down to 15,000. That's the way I work. I work planning usually years out into what my investment portfolio will look like. And then I did really good since the mistakes I made afterwards were I had 2.5 year Microstrategy leaps. And don't get me wrong, I made like over 1,000, 1,500% on some of these, right? But if I would have just held that shit, I would have made so much fucking money. And so not understanding MicroStrategy and what Saylor was doing, even though I knew I really liked him and I thought he did a great job in the bear market and they survived, I instead bet on Bitcoin miners. It was good for the first half up until the end of about, 2023? The end of 2023. Is that right? 2023, 2024. End of 2023, I should have just got the fuck out. But I didn't with the miners. I should have listened to my friend Bob Burnett, who was the previous chief technology officer of Gateway Computers, the cow-spotted box that people might know if you're a little bit older. He told me to get the fuck out of it. He ran a professional mining business that was across multiple states and countries. And so I should have listened to him. I had even been a Bitcoin miner and I knew how hard it was, but I was arrogant and stupid because I thought, hey, I made a bunch of money my first cycle in with these guys. And the second one, I could do it again. I'll do it again. And what I didn't think about is the market gets smarter every cycle. The participants get smarter every cycle. And some really smart people knew that Bitcoin miners had run hard, and they knew that the business was never going to have the growth rate that it needed because of the complexity and the hardness of investing in Bitcoin miners. It is such a tough job. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you think about it, Bitcoin miners are constantly having to build out new facilities to keep up with an ever-growing hash rate, a parabolic hash rate that just keeps going up because you're competing with the entire rest of the fucking world. You better have the lowest energy prices for the planet or you won't even stand a chance. Then you better have tax incentives that don't do double taxation on your mining profits and equipment. And then you should have tax incentives incentivized from the government to help you, because if you don't have enough tax incentives, and you will need tax incentives because you'll have to depreciate all of your fucking equipment and all of your expenses. If you don't do that, you don't even stand a chance. And then on top of doing all of that, you need to try and time perfectly when to buy new equipment. And even if you do all of this shit, a Bitcoin treasury company can just immediately liquidate with a huge NAV premium, which means they're borrowing a very tiny amount of debt for a huge amount of Bitcoin, right? In some cases, 10x the Bitcoin versus what debt is created. That's like what MicroStrategy and Metaplanet have been doing, right? And I think SWC and these others are going to do as well, at least some of them. And then it's immediately accretive because you just bought that shit in like the last week. And then the price is going up. And so you're making, and then if you're Ethereum, you're staking that shit, and then you're getting an APR off of that too. So you're getting a multiplier, you're getting basically revenue while the accretion kicks in right away, while you're getting it at a multiple of what your debt issuance is, while the price is going up. And so you have like the easy way, which is treasury companies, and then you have the hard way, which is Bitcoin mining companies. And Bitcoin mining companies, like, again, everybody bitches about their favorite Bitcoin mining company that pisses them off if it's not a high performance compute play, like the NVIDIA types, the H100s or whatever. But they bitch about they're like, oh, it's the CEO that's the problem with this one, or it's this that's the problem with this one, or oh, they're buying private jets. I mean, don't get me wrong, all that's fucking stupid because you're barely making any money and you're doing what I would argue is the hardest fucking job on earth, being a Bitcoin miner. I think one of the best things the United States government can do is they can incentivize Bitcoin mining in this country while stacking a huge amount of Bitcoin. They need to make it to where mining is done here and the equipment comes from here, because we can't have China flipping a switch on a bunch of Bitcoin ant miners and turning that shit off with the latest update. We don't want that, right? We want to control this network. We want to at least be the major participant in it. Anyway, like I said, I'm coming back hot today. If you guys could hit the like, that would be greatly appreciated. But I would argue that physical mining is hard. It's a commoditized business. And all I mean by that is it's basically no margin. There's no margin. You make no money off of it. There's no real growth. And why do I say that? Well, let's just look real quickly here at this little company called CleanSpark. CleanSpark looks interesting on some of its graphs, right? And I talked a really positive game about these guys because they were doing something that I thought was the best way to do it, which was they were growing their stack. Oh, sorry, I hit the refresh again. Let's wait one more second. I don't know why this is taking so long, but we'll give it a second. Maybe they're sleeping in Argentina. The guy who built this site actually lives in Argentina. His name is Alejandro. He's a friend of mine. Mining hash rate. So you can see the mining hash rate gets more difficult all the time, right? This is what I was talking about. You're competing against this. And what do I mean by that? Well, the end of the last cycle, guys, this is in exahashes. When our boy Jerome Powell was increasing rates at the fastest rate in history, it took 2.1 exahash to be able to mine your Bitcoin, right? It was 2.1. That was the going mining hash rate at the time per second. It is 42.4 now. It has went up 20 fucking X since the end of the last cycle. 20 times harder to mine Bitcoin. That means all the equipment that you used over here is fucking toast. It is sell it for the copper. It is junk. So this is the kind of shit that these miners have to deal with, right? And at the same time, let's look at the revenue. So this looks good. Oh, hey, look, the revenue's increasing. Look at this, 182 million. That's so much higher than where they were when the Fed was raising rates at the most aggressive rate in history. But it's really only like 5-6x. It isn't 20x. And their net income, let's look at the last quarter here. Q1 2025, net income of negative $138 million. And their cash flow, their free cash flow and operating cash flow is getting more negative. So this is one of, I would argue, the best run Bitcoin mining companies. Iron's probably the number one right now. They've diluted the shit out of you. Then they kind of tried to slow down. But they're not making money. Their cash flow is getting worse. Their debt loads are huge. And their Bitcoin production is fucking flat. Tell me how this is a good investment. Can anybody raise their hand and tell me, why do we give a fuck which CEO is running this company? It doesn't matter. This is hard. This is a hard business. Let's look at Mara. They're kicking ass, right? Let's see how good Mara is doing. And then we'll get back to our other video. Sorry, today's, I got to make up for lost time. We're doing it good today. We're not just doing some fucking news reporting. We're covering some bases, okay? Sebastian is in shambles over BTC miners. He needs to pivot. I know, I feel bad, man. But that's kind of what he's built his thing around. So Mara, Bitcoin production, look at this. They're worse than they were in Q3 of 2023. They've energized a decent amount. Like their big leap was from Q3 2024 to Q4 2024. They haven't really energized that much since. Their revenue's up. Their share dilution is worse than CleanSpark's. Their debts are huge. And by the way, CleanSpark is selling a bunch of their fucking Bitcoin now. So what is the point of what they're even doing? At least Bitcoin treasuries keep that shit while it's going up in value. Like, at least be strategic. Sell that shit at the tippity top when the Pi cycle top comes. Then dump your fucking Bitcoin if you're a miner. Cause the drop. You know what I mean? Don't do it when Bitcoin's at like 50,000 or 100,000 or what the fuck. But look at the free cash flow here. It sucks. What's the net income? They did better last quarter. Way better. They also diluted the shit out of their shareholders. Revenue's up. But again, Bitcoin production isn't going anywhere. A lot of the wins for this company right here is this. It's the fact that most of the Bitcoin that they own as Mara has come from buying it. Can you see how this is artificial? Can you see that? They're getting ready to do it again. But can you see how the artificial bumps? And again, when they started, they bought it out of the gate, guys. They were buying this shit early. I'm starting to think that it is important that miners have a pivot of some kind to try and keep them profitable. And again, I think so. Yeah, HPC type shit. Yes, I almost feel like you have to do that, which is probably why Iron has been doing better, right? Iron has just been a better tool for investing in this sector. You just can't argue that. And HPC is that. As arrogant as Mike Alfred can be sometimes, I mean, he's right. This is a good company. And I don't know. I can be arrogant too. So I try not to judge him too harshly because he's probably just like a richer version of me. I think I'm nicer, maybe. But anyway, and I'm not going to post my fucking food every week or my wine bottles. I'm not. God, I hope I don't turn into that guy. If I do, you guys got to call me a douche, okay? Not that Mike Alfred's a douche. It's just kind of douchey behavior. Anyway, so Iron, I would argue, what is it up? It's up 271% since April. That's actually a pretty good miner. They've outperformed while these others have been hurting. You got blocked by, I did too, but then I unblocked him and he unblocked me. We got in a little spat. Again, he's got a big ego, but I think I do too. So, I can only be so mad at him. I think you're nicer. I think I'm nicer. Thank you. Thanks, Gemini. Real Mark. Hey, Jesse, could you do a chart on DF? Yes, we'll look at all that. Let's hurry up and look at this. Yeah. So the depreciation of stuff. Yeah. So that's for like moving business. And again, there are other things that I think from a mining perspective we're looking to do. I think that'll help us as an industry. But I think miners, guys, are going to be more commoditized. I think the government will provide federal incentives for miners to do better here. And then maybe that makes them more investable. I don't know. Let's listen here.
Currently, we're about right here. The yellow and the green line are pretty far apart.
I might transition my seating here
do these
to get
converge,
more comfortable.
and what does that mean? Okay, well, let's take a look. So first of all, if we were to follow this blindly, we're not going to. I'm going to show you a handful of other indicators. What this would tell us is that this would converge around January 17 of 2027. But doesn't that contradict the normal cycles? Well, yeah, because it should be somewhere around the end of this year, if not beginning part of next year, Q4 this year, Q1 of next year. But this is saying not until January, Q1 of 2027, and predicting a price of $395,000 would be the top. Now, number one, that price seems really high, maybe too high. Number two, it's not the right time frame. Well, the reason why this could be off is because, again, these are moving averages. So that means they're moving. So what happens is if we get into a really rapid Bitcoin price appreciation, let's say this year, it's going to adjust these moving averages and it could change that. Okay, so we're going to keep an eye on that. But in order to sort of understand where the price is going to go, we're going to look at more than just this cycle. Even though it's so predictive, like I said, because it's a moving average, we have to take into consideration that it is moving. Now, another one that I really like to use is called the MVRV. That's the market value to realized value. And it's sort of a more grounded method. Basically, it takes what the market price of Bitcoin is versus what the realized price. So this is on-chain data, so we can see the last time Bitcoin has moved. The Bitcoin network is anonymous. We don't know who owns the wallets or who they belong to, but they're not private, so we can see them. And so we can see the last time they moved or what that price might be, meaning how much profit or loss that person might have. Now, if we take a look at this chart, by the way, these charts are from Bitcoin Magazine Pro. Check them out online. You can pull up your own charts. And what we can see is that when the MVRV, which is this red line, when it spikes, like right here, it signals a top in the market. When it spiked, it was a top in the market. When it spiked here, it was a top in the market. When it spiked here, it was a top in the market. Pattern recognition. Okay, so where are we here? Well, we're nowhere near spiking, which probably means we're nowhere near the top of the market either. Now, what we do is we take some lines, we take some patterns, we try to adjust this out. And what it tells us is that currently, right now, there's a range, we're looking at maybe somewhere between 140, but probably closer to $200,000 before the realized
I agree with all this.
price increases enough to show a peak. So somewhere around 140, super conservative, but maybe closer to 200,000 at the peak of the cycle before we get there. But again, these are moving. So well, I'll tell you how we use these indicators and how we use them inside the fund a little bit later towards the end of the video. But again, first pi cycle, about 395. Here, 140 to 200. Let's call it closer to 200. All right, let's go back to another indicator that we like to use. Now, this is Fibonacci extensions. This one is probably one of my least favorite, but for all my technical
it's one of my favorite, so I'm going to disagree with Mark on this one. Real quickly, Mike Lauk. Jesse, can you talk to the narrative that we need miners to secure the blockchain? If miners struggle, what happens to security? We do. But that's where it's just more of a commodity, right? Let me see. I got something over here. Let me see if I can find it. Right here. This is the Bitcoin mining map. So this is where we sit in comparison with all the other miners on Earth, right? So one thing I want to show you, if we just zoom over here real quick, if we look at America, it is 37.84% of the hash rate. So we're almost 40% of the hash rate for the entire Earth right now. We do need to maintain that because we need to maintain the security. We need to be the chain that wins, right? So, but it'll be commoditized. It won't be high margin. It won't be like big investment. It'll probably be tweaked by the federal government as far as tax incentives and other incentives to ensure that we remain the country that you want to run miners in, or at least operate your main facilities out of. Some of these miners, again, are in like South America. They've got mining equipment in Canada, yada, yada. But we want to be the winners, right? Also, Canada makes up 6.48%. So really between the two of these, we have about 45% of the hash of the entire Earth sitting in the North American continent as far as overall control. And so we are dominant right now. We're dominant, but we operate off of too many Chinese-related Bitcoin mining equipment pieces. Like most of it is Bitmain, but there's some others that are out there too. And we don't want that. We don't want to be dependent upon China. So that's why there's mining companies that are coming out from like XYZ Block, Jack Dorsey. That's why he's made mining equipment, and there are others that like Auradine that are doing it as well. Is to ensure that we still control the hash for the entire planet. We want to be at the lead. That's just what it has to be. So I think it turns into more than that, but I don't think it's a business. And this is where I wish I would have listened to my friend Bob Burnett, a year and a half. Well, he talked to me about it 2 years ago. I was still winning, which is probably why I was so cocky. But if, a year and a half ago when everything topped out in miners, I wish I would have thought about what he said and really took it to heart and studied and realized that MicroStrategy was the winning play and that those were the bad ones. Because that would have made me a shit ton of money, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. All we can do is learn. But yeah, so I think it'll be a commodity. I don't think it'll matter. And that's why I've got CleanSpark and Mara calls. I sold all my iron and I sold a okay chunk, not enough, probably like 15, 20% of my Mara calls as they were going higher. But I didn't sell enough. I wish I would have sold more. But I still have like almost, I think it's 10,000 or something. Maybe it's more than that, Mara and CleanSpark related calls. I hope they don't go to dust. My big hope is that there's going to be laggards that will come into the space and they'll look at these treasuries and they'll consider them overvalued and they'll look towards the miners and they'll look to bid them up. And so my hope is similar to Coincilium, where it's like, okay, I'm not devoting any more capital to this play, but this could be something where it ends up doing well and maybe I still end up making a decent amount of money just by people coming in late, laggards, and bidding things up, trying to find the next thing that hasn't run hard. That's usually what happens every cycle. All right, let's keep listening. We're almost done.
Analysis, all my wannabe traders out there, you know exactly what this is. Basically, it's a mathematical or a technical level of price levels that would hit either on an up or down swing. So it's technical levels from previous cycles. Now, these are math-based. One of my previous partners, he was an amazing wizard on technical analysis. I call it like reading tea leaves. We're going to take a look at it either way. Now, what the Fibonacci does is it identifies resistance levels that could keep the price from moving up, but also support levels that would keep it from dropping down. Now, if we take a look at the Fibonacci, if you're a trader and you like these, if you look at the Fibonacci levels, what we see is that the extensions are currently projecting on a conservative basis, a base case, or an optimistic, a bear or bull case, Bitcoin to be somewhere in the 145 price range, somewhere around here, maybe up to 170, but maybe as high as about 220,000. So bear case 145, mid case 170, bull case.
This is my thought process too. That's why I wanted you guys to watch this video. There's so much good content that literally kind of leads through my thesis that I could talk to.
220. What did the MVRV say? It said the same thing, between 145 and 220.
I don't like MSTU right now, David. So I've been saying this with a lot of things. I don't want to include more theta decay right now, and MicroStrategy is just not the fastest horse. It already ran so much. And don't get me wrong, it'll do good. But if you wanted to really do well, that's where SWC and Metaplanet are going to come in. They're just going to do a lot better than MicroStrategy is going to do. So why not go with that one? Like, why not go with Metaplanet I'd say both, SWC, the Smarter Web Company. So you get that better multiplier, better than what you're going to get with MSTR alone easily, and probably better than what you'd get from MSTU because it's a 2x fund that's subject to theta decay. And if we have a down period where it really drops, you're going to get fucked on that fund. MSTX, MSTU. People ask about Tesla 2, TSLL. You're going to get screwed on that. And so why not just get the thing that's a much smaller cap, that's executing well, that's going to have probably a higher growth rate than you would get off that 2x fund, and then not have the theta decay or the tracking errors. That's my thought process. But again, everybody do your own thing. If you end up doing better, great.
20 as well. All right, so we're starting to see some confluence in factors there. All right, so if we put all this together, we take the pi cycle, we take the MVRV, we take the Fibonacci, what do we get? Well, they're pointing between, again, 140 to 220 range. timeline looks like it's going to be much sooner than 2027. And if we cross-validate these, we converge them, it gives us more confidence into our price levels. So maybe somewhere in the, what is the average of that? 175, 180 could potentially be the top of the cycle. We don't know till we get there. But what does this mean for stocks like Microstrategy? So Microstrategy, or now Strategy, is basically a proxy. It's a levered way to play Bitcoin. So for example, if we look at Microstrategy, here's bonds in the last 5.
And so again, all I'm doing, he's showing you MicroStrategy in comparison to everything else and showing that it's roughly a 2x multiplier to Bitcoin. It's a little bit less than that lately because it's been a little rough for the last like 6 months, right? But he's showing you how it's a 2x multiplier. All I'm saying is these other companies like MetaPlanet is like a 1.5 to 2x multiplier of MicroStrategy. And then SWC is like probably a 2x multiplier of MetaPlanet. So I'm just dialing up the risk curve. I'm getting the stuff that can give me a higher multiple.
5 years.
And hey guys, we've been right so far. It looks like Bitcoin is still dropping. This is great behavior to go into a Monday open. I like seeing it. So don't be worried about this. This is exactly what we were calling for.
Since August 10th of 2020, bonds are down 4%, so you've lost a lot of money. Real estate's up 6%, gold's up 10%, S&P 500 is up 14% annually. The Mag 7 are up 27%, Bitcoin's up 58%, and MicroStrategy's up double that, about 101%. Cumulatively, 3,000% in that period, while Bitcoin is up 885% in that period. Okay, that's over the last 5 years. What about the last 1 year? Well, if we look at it over the last 12 months, we see a similar pattern. Bonds are flat, real estate's up 6%, S&P 17%. Gold had a great run over the last 12 months, up 40%. Bitcoin's up 74%, but again, MicroStrategy is up almost double that at 134%. So if MicroStrategy, or strategy, is a levered way to play Bitcoin, where does it put the price of that? Well, let's take a look at that as well, using some of these familiar metrics. Now, we don't have on-chain data that we can use, but we can use Bitcoin as an indicator, seeing how it moves.
Let's see here. I want to see if he's got anything else. I think he's right about all that. I'm just going to probably paraphrase some of this. Based on our Bitcoin extension. Yeah, okay, so Fibonacci. I'm way better at Fibonacci than anybody he's ever looking for him. He's showing you the multipliers to NAV and where price can go at different levels. He's showing targets that are really high. Let's see here.
So in the recent Q2 earnings from Strategy, it's about a 2-hour call. It's worth...
Oh, yeah. They're just talking about how they amplify their BTC through intelligent strategies, and it shows you basically the NAV multiplier and what the annual reoccurring revenue would be based upon the leverage that they're using. It's all good stuff. This is all good, but I don't know. Yeah, again, so I've linked this twice, so you can take a look at this if you want to. We're going to go into the news-related stuff now, okay? Coincilium now has an MNAV of 1.5, so it's went up a little bit. Is that true? I don't even know what it's at. I can look. I don't care much. Again, this is a much smaller portion of my portfolio. I like to focus on the big winners, and then these kind of one-offs. If they do all right, great. So one thing I wanted to point out here, and I did a chart on this myself earlier, but and you know what? Maybe before I do that, I'm going to refresh real quickly because I want to make sure all my bookmarks are up to date. Okay, well, let's start here. So Borgusio says, I do already have SBET and BMNR, just unsure where to convert the miners to. Maybe more of those in SWC and MetaPlanet. That's what my plan would be. I can't speak to you guys. I don't know your portfolio. I don't know your risk tolerance. Everybody's accountable for their own actions, but I would have exposure to Bitcoin treasuries. And again, I'll show you another post that I did a little bit ago. I've kind of already talked through some of it, but we'll highlight it again real quick on why I believe that Ethereum first treasuries will be some of the highest performing because, again, Ethereum is a $500 billion cap versus 2.4 trillion. So it's 20% of the size of Bitcoin. I don't believe any of that Joseph Lubin bullshit about it flipping Bitcoin. It's a great narrative, though. And again, stable coins are useful. It is not the store of value that Bitcoin is. It just isn't in any way from any technical sense, even though there will be a lot of people that argue the opposite. I've heard all the arguments. They're asinine. All right, so Golden Unicorn said, which Bitcoin treasury does 20x first? So the number one votes were for SWC. The number two were for MetaPlanet. So this wasn't my vote. This is somebody completely different. Am I out of Upexi? No, I was adding more to it. I'm adding more to my Solana treasuries last week, not less. DFDV, Upexi, I added to both of those and posted about it. And I've got to update my chart. Since I'm not getting the house anymore, I do have to update the portfolio. I'll work on that. My main focus is just really trying to understand markets, but I'll get that stuff updated and I'll try and at least give weekly updates as well. But yeah, so these two, they got voted pretty high, right? Much higher than similar scientific or Microstrategy. They could have put more on here, but whatever. I think the results are indicative of what I'm saying, which is that it pays to be in these two. Sorry. A little uncomfortable, trying to get better. Just give me a second. All right, there we go. It's all about positioning the nuts just perfectly. All right, so this is a chart I made a long time ago. I haven't really looked at it in a while. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Let me do this. I feel like I'm fat because I'm like all hunched over here, but it's like I gotta protect the balls. Is that making it bigger? Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. Whatever. So this is multiple cycles, right? This is going back to the 2017 cycle. You can see the craziness that was Ethereum and how the levels, the ratio got for a little bit when people were talking about it flipping Bitcoin. That same thing happened with Bitcoin Cash. I'm willing to bet a lot of people here don't even know what Bitcoin Cash is. Bitcoin Cash, for a moment, was flipping Bitcoin and turning into the largest fucking crypto on earth in one night. But it didn't happen, and then it went the other way, and it's been just horrific ever since. So there's times where people use this narrative about, this is going to flip Bitcoin. It never happens. But you can see how Ethereum has this trend line over here goes back to 2017. And we're going to break it. So you can see how Ethereum, when it was down like, what was it, 1500s or something? I don't know, from its lows to where it is now, you can see how much it went. Well, it's still got a long way to go before it starts hitting resistance over here from previous trends. So this is the .618, golden retracement zone. It's kind of an important thing to keep track of. So this is going to run. This is going to run. It might take a break right over here. But this ratio, the ETH to BTC ratio, is going to run, and you're going to see Ethereum do better sooner. So what do I like right now? I like Ethereum treasuries for the short term because I think they're going to outperform. And then after they get close to this .618, then I would want to be reducing my exposure to them probably, at least for a period of time. That's what I'm going to do. I trade in an IRA where I don't have to worry about tax consequences. But I would reduce exposure to those, have them more in Bitcoin treasuries, especially if they haven't run yet. Again, things change over time. Nut safety first. Yes, sir. Nut safety never takes holiday. Yeah, dude. Just like your nuts get tingly. I might have to adjust my sitting here in a little bit. But yeah, so I think Ethereum treasuries first. Oh, shit. I hit the wrong button. That's going to suck. Now I got to switch all my trading view stuff. Blarred me. It's going to blow. It meant to increase the size of this window. But yeah, so that's kind of the game plan. Sorry about the house, Jesse. Not sure what happened. It was more about the deal and me not wanting to devote massive. The down payment for the deal was really, really high for the down payment because of the fact that most of my wealth was still trapped in IRAs. Even though I have I have equity in my house, I have equity in and investments outside of that. But my income, I didn't have income for the first 4 years of doing this after I retired. I was financially supporting my wife retired a little bit a year later, but I retired my parents, I retired my in-laws, and then a year later I retired my wife, and and I was helping out other family members too, financially on and off, a lot of them, for a lot of money each year. And I was having to support myself off my investment income. So I was pretty fucked. Like, it was a hard life, man. But I got through it for the first 4 years after retiring, getting all the way down to $167,000 in the low in the pandemic, because I retired at the start of a pandemic, like a lunatic. But I was able to grow my wealth that you guys could see, inside the pin post that I have. You can see how I was able to grow my wealth over that time, while supporting a bunch of other people and making things happen. And I don't remember why I got down that track. Let's see. Oh, about the house. Yeah. So anyway, now I have income. But I've only had it like X does a 90-day delay in payments. And then I've only been getting money from social media for just a little over a year. So I didn't have a high annualized income to be able to get a good interest rate. And so I'm just not going to get fucked right now when I know interest rates are coming down heading into the spring, and I can see housing prices plummeting all around me. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever for me to really spend a lot of time right now with this. All right. I got a weird widget about streaming. I hope things don't start lagging, guys. I really do. My screen got dark too. I'm trying to. 1 second. Let me just increase something here. See if I can. There we go. My screen got dark, and I fucking can't stand it when I can't see what I'm looking at. You guys don't see it on your end, but I see it on mine. All right, so Benjamin Cohen, he said, so admittedly, there's a lot going on with this chart, but if you look carefully at it, you'll see that Bitcoin prints the same pattern. 1 second here. Same pattern each post-halving year. Up in July and August, down in September, up into the market cycle, top in Q4. So again, that's kind of what we're looking to operate off of, is that we have a drop before the Fed lowers rates in September. That's where I'm at right now, and then we buy into that drop. I'll probably buy in without multipliers, maybe some, but and then it'll as it goes up, I'll be exiting out of all multipliers for sure. Heading into October, that's kind of the thought. Jesse, new strategy BTC acquisition announced post 45 minutes ago. Really? What the fuck are they doing now? Oh, was that just a purchase? Acquisition. You just mean the 155 or whatever. That's probably what you mean, right? Yeah, we know about that. We're good. All right, so let's keep going here. So again, that's kind of the theme of the timeline that we're looking at right now, but it's subject to change like everything. Also, so there's some people that were bearish. There's some people that were bearish about Bitcoin, and I just want to be very clear here. Also, I think we hit 1,300 viewers. If you guys could hit the like, it would be greatly appreciated. It doesn't take a lot to do that, and it helps the channel a lot. Crypto Goose, the family of the U.S. president has bought $2 billion worth of Bitcoin at prices over $100,000. Publicly called on the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates, predicted Bitcoin will reach $1 million, taken seats on the board of treasury companies, stated they want the U.S. to buy Bitcoin all openly and in public, and Eric Trump is constantly telling you how you should buy the dip, and he says that at pretty opportune times. So I would argue that it's actually probably really positive right now still in this environment. Here, 1 sec. I'm going to switch positions again, guys. I hate to do this. 1 second here. Give me a second. Ugh, I just gotta get comfortable. It's hard to do. My nuts are starting to kick in. 1 second here. Let me adjust this. All right, there we go. We're gonna try this way. On my knees for a little bit. Whew. All right. So I wanted to shit on Ripple real quick. It says they want you to buy XRP while they sell it. Ripple, the company that owns XRP, that routinely creates more of it so that they can dump onto participants, executed a scheduled escrow unlock on August 9th, releasing $1 billion in XRP tokens valued at $3.28 billion into circulation. Fucking you and the investment that you have so that they can enrich their company because they couldn't run it effectively without diluting the shit out of people that invest in their shitty coin. That was a lot to say. All right. This right here, I wanted to talk to this. So this is what we covered a little bit. Again, Ethereum treasuries. You could buy ETH at a massive discount because of larger than 1.5x NAV. You can stake it for more ETH. You can grow at an exponential rate since their debt is growing at a fraction of their assets because, again, they're buying at a premium of what they hold for Bitcoin holdings. So it's stupid accretive. It's very, very smart. And again, they do this. These companies, guys, BMNR and SBET have like between 5 and 7 employees, each of them. I forget which one has 5 and which one has 7, but that should tell you something about the overhead. It's low, but miners depreciate very quickly. And again, have to keep up with the global hash rate and all this other shit. And then have tons of people that have to keep track of the machines and make sure they're running and give them updates and pay their energy costs and depreciate all their blah, 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 blah. It's really fucking hard. It's really fucking hard. So I wouldn't want to be in that business. 38 lights is unacceptable, team. Yeah, that would be really, really low. Let's keep going, though. So Frederick said, Grok, can you help answer this question I have based on this post? Can Bitcoin miners mine Bitcoins cheaper than simply loan money? Buy Bitcoin and pay the loan with interest in the future or dilute the stock to buy Bitcoin? Is it simply make or buy decision and is buying more lucrative than making? And if so, shouldn't they make the mining more attractive in the future? So he's trying to figure out if I'm wrong and if Bitcoin mining is actually more attractive. Grok said, yes, mining BTC often costs more than borrowing it to buy it. especially post 2024 halving. Average mining costs are 92,000 per BTC versus current of 116, but op risk energy difficulty at 129 T. Erode margins, borrowing 5 to 10% interest or diluting stock. MicroStrategy's up 3,000% in 5 years. Leverages BTC appreciation with lower overhead. Buying is typically more lucrative. If so, inefficient miners exit, stabilizing difficulty and boosting future mining appeal. So yes, you will find a balance in the mining world, but is it a better investment? No, it's not. It's not a better investment. This Grok just got done telling you the same shit I was telling you. So it's better to be invested in a treasury company. It just is. Also, for people that like to pay attention to technicals, I said X marks the spot, and this is where we're going to break through. And that's exactly what we did. And now, and you look in the bottom right-hand corner, we're starting to retrace back down. But how did I know that? Because there's some rules in technical analysis where when you have these patterns, like what looked like a bull flag, but then broke lower and then ended up going up, creating a falling broadening wedge, which is a bullish pattern, you have this trend line, and then also you have your first fib extension. When I find through tons of research over time, this is the time where you're going to break through. Whether it's up or down, this is the time. When you have this X that forms between the Fibonacci and the trend line, that is when price action happens. I don't know of anybody else that pays attention to this. I don't know of one other fucking person. So this is something that I taught you that you should know, is that when you're using Fibonacci extensions and retracements, and you're also doing trend lines, which I believe both are very valuable, that when you have these intersections, these X mark the spots, that they do. So that's a tidbit you should try and retain. Again, Mark Harvey says 5 years ago today, Strategy adopted the Bitcoin standard by converting nearly all of their cash in their balance sheet to Bitcoin. MicroStrategy's up 3,100%. NVIDIA's up 1,500. Everybody loves to talk about that. BTC's up 900. Nasdaq's up 96. Gold is up 78. I'm sure Palantir did really good over that time frame too. But again, there's a lesson to be learned here, and that it's the treasuries are more effective. You don't see a mining company sitting in that list. Bitcoin Archive, here we go. If you don't stop buying, so again, they bought 155. They're not diluting shares. They told us the NAV levels of which they do stuff like that, and it's not now. Eric Trump says, stop betting against Bitcoin and ETH. You will be run over. I think that's a warning, and this guy happens to know some pretty powerful people. Like one of them's the president of the country. Bitcoin Archive, less than 1 million people own a full Bitcoin. That's just 0.01% of the global population. If you hold one BTC, you're early. Look at this. Isn't that crazy? You're this. I got more than one. So it's like, I don't even know what I am in that list. It's crazy. I said this is the fun part when Ethereum and Bitcoin will jockey back and forth, going higher and higher. So Joe put Bitcoin, Ethereum weekly chart, and it shows how Bitcoin is just getting crushed versus Ethereum over the weekly time frame. That's good though. They'll take turns going up. It's all positive. We want that. This is the fun part. The great Matsby, he took a chart from my friend Cantonese Cat, and he does these Gants. You can see over here where we're getting ready on, it looks like close to a minimum of 10,000 on Ethereum. A lot of my charts look similar to that too. We got UK-based oil companies that are mining Bitcoin. We've got the Ethereum price action. I just said this is the last 3 days. I mean, look at that price action, guys. It's just straight up. And it's not even like irrationally up. It just is up. Not even near a blow off top. And Bo Hines resigned over the weekend. I think he's just trying to get into the Bitcoin business so that he can financially profit from it while it goes up before they do an announcement about a strategic reserve. I think that's what's going on. Ali Shababi says, I don't get why Tom Lee likes ETH Circle mints on Solana and Tether mints on Tron, and tokenization is bigger on Solana. In the United States, the majority is done. Through Ethereum, and that is the one. So you have to realize this, guys. What were some of the main investments that Donald Trump's sons and companies were making? They weren't Bitcoin initially. They have done that, right? Like they've become a part of like mining boards and all this other stuff, right? So they've done that. They're in bed with the treasury companies, all of that. But it wasn't that initially. It was Ethereum. So, I mean, it's like, is it not a no-brainer that when you have rich and powerful people that are backing a particular tool, that it will do better than ones that don't have that similar backing? I mean, I'm going to say yes. Who are the Solana advocates? I like James Invest Answers, and I'm invested in Solana treasuries with DFDV and Upexi. But who are the other big backers? I don't see Tom Lee. I don't see Kathy Wood. I don't see Stanley Druckenmiller. I don't see other major players, and including the president's son backing it. So I'm going to go with the one that's got the biggest backing. That's just how I work. I'm a simple man. $5 billion Bitwise says 401ks could drive more capital into Bitcoin than spot ETFs. To be clear, guys, this isn't even happening until 2026. So it's a great narrative to pull people in, but it's not going to actually be anything of substance. Tom Lee said this isn't a bubble and that everything's going up. We're about 33 minutes from market open. $400 million direct offering right now on SBET. Interesting. I wonder if that is some of the reason why it was down. It's up 2% right now in pre-market. BMNR is up about 12. But that's pretty huge news. That's awesome. We want to see as much dilution as possible. We want to see these guys grow. But I'd say this guy right here is the big winner right now. Let's listen to Tom real quick here on Bankless talking about, you know what? I got a better one than this, dude. Just a second. This is just so much better. Tom Lee, 5%. I want you guys to understand the Ethereum treasuries. I don't, options on Sequoians. I can try and look. I don't even know if they're good to be in, man. I don't know. I regret buying options. I lost money on that play. It could still go up and I could make a bunch of money, but I don't know that options are the right play for this. I don't know that they're the right play. Maybe they are. But if you're subscribed to me on Discord too, if I don't get to it today, you can see what I bought in there. You can look at the history under today's trades and just go back through them and see which ones I bought. All right, so let me see here. I'm looking for the 5% video. Tom Lee, maybe it's under BMNR. Let me just do this. BMNR. I gotta find this video. It's a good one. Oh, it's right here. Okay. So this is 11 minutes. I want to watch this real quick. This will give me some time to adjust to, so my balls can feel better. But this is brilliant. You got to listen to Tom on what he's talking about with the math with Ethereum treasuries.
Hi there, my name is Tom Lee. I'm the newly appointed chairman of BitMine, ticker BMNR. And I want to welcome you to the launch of a monthly video series called The Chairman's Message. The purpose of this Chairman's Message is to keep you abreast of all the updates of BitMine as it builds the world's premier treasury strategy and what we call the alchemy of 5% once we reach 5% share of all Ethereum tokens. There's some disclaimers I want to highlight.
So to be real clear, and let me get back in here 1 second, guys. To be real clear, the 5% is like they're not even close to that number. So they've got a ways to go, and they're being stupid aggressive. And Aspit's being aggressive, and we got a new player coming in with $5 billion in capital. And then you have the Ether machine. There is massive capital flowing in.
Highlight safe harbor and risks. But let's start with the exponential growth story of BitMine itself. It begins after July.
I want to show you guys something here real quick too. So they're talking about like a 2.7 billion. They're showing the growth of this. Look at this. Well, I'll let him talk to that in a second, but I do want to show you something else real super quick here. I want to show you how quickly these reserves are growing. I don't even know. Oh, it did update. So here's what I want to show you. It's right up here. Hey, Galaxy, you can talk and chat now. And sorry, I'm doing this recline thing, but it's for my balls. It's for a good cause. So again, Ethereum, you can see how the in blue, you're looking at ETFs, and you can see how they went up, right? You can see how they were doing pretty good. But I mean, over here, if we look at just like July, let's say July, over here, you can see that the ETFs had 4.4 million in Ethereum. And right now they're sitting at, I think that was the ETFs, 5.9. So 5.9 since July, from 4.24 to 5.9. But look at the treasuries in that same amount of time, 1.2 million ETH. And now, I don't even know, this should be pretty close. So 1.2 million ETH to 3, that is a huge multiplier more. So treasuries are growing. If we look at treasuries here, this is exponential. And between the two right now, I don't know if it shows. Yeah, it does. We have about 7.7% of the total Ethereum supply locked up in ETFs and treasuries. That number is growing at an exponential rate. Again, if we just went back over here to like April, the total locked up supply was 3.55 million ETH. And now we're talking about 9. So from 3.55 in April to 9 million today. This is dramatic. This is dramatic in nature, and it's something you need to pay attention to.
July 8th, when the $250 million private placement was closed, and that's when I joined as chairman. And just 18 days later, BitMine holds over $2.7 billion worth of Ethereum in cash. Now, this effort to reach 5% of Ethereum is not being done alone. We have many investment partners. This investment was led by Mosaics, but there's many others on here, including Founders Fund, Pantera, Kraken, Galaxy Digital, GSR, DCG.
Hold up. So this is something else you guys need to understand, right? DCG is huge, Pantera, huge, Galaxy Digital, huge, Kraken, huge, and then other players in here too. So again, right out of the gate, this isn't just Tom Lee doing his thing. These are major players in the crypto world since the beginning of Bitcoin, or like, again, pre-2017. These are big dogs right here.
DCG. Now, to walk you through the story, let me start with talking about why Ethereum is potentially the most...
Yeah, and so Victor said, Tom Lee added to SBET under his granny shots because it would be a conflict of interest for him to buy Bitminer. So he's telling you both of these are going up, and he's invested in both through different, affiliations. So I think that says a lot.
Most important macro trade for the next decade. When we announced this Ethereum treasury strategy, we wanted to become the Microstrategy of Ethereum because we believed Ethereum is going to start to see its key macro moment, and that all has to do with stablecoins. Stablecoins are the ChatGPT moment for crypto because we've seen widespread adoption of stablecoins by consumers, corporates, and banks. And as you can see from these various headlines, JP Morgan wants to create a stablecoin, Goldman and BNY want to tokenize money market funds, Walmart and Amazon are looking at issuing their own stablecoins, and Robinhood wants to tokenize a lot of private companies. In addition, there has been a lot of effort mobilized because of the Genius Act, which is setting the stage for a stablecoin boom. This is legislation signed by President Trump earlier this year. Treasury Secretary Bessent thinks stablecoins could become a $4 trillion market. That's more than 10 times bigger than it is today, and that would represent exponential growth in demand for Ethereum. Ethereum, if you're not familiar with it, is a layer 1 blockchain, but what distinguishes it from Bitcoin is that it enables smart contracts, so you can store and do a lot of computing. In fact, Ethereum is the largest smart contract platform by a sizable magnitude, and today is a legally recognized blockchain compliant with U.S. laws. And in fact, the majority...
Okay, so he's going to talk about some things that are really important that I don't think a lot of people that love Solana think about. And one of those things, guys, is going to be that that Ethereum has had 100% uptime. Solana was a laughing joke in 2017-18 in regard to just crashing all the time. And I think it was kind of that way into the 2020 range too. It just crashed all the time, and everybody knew it, and people shit on it all the time for that reason. But that again is not compliant with what we need for like a banking system in the United States. And they've had much better uptime more recently, but again, you can't have downtime; it's not acceptable. I think this is one of the primary reasons that they've pushed towards this.
Assets, whether it's stablecoins or other tokens, are actually being created on Ethereum. They have more than a 60% share. So again, growth in stablecoins is a boom for Ethereum.
So again, case for ETH, real world assets. Now, I don't know what they're classifying. It says non-stablecoin RWI value by network in the millions. So I don't know what all these are as far as like what's been tokenized. I don't know that number, but again, Ethereum is in the lead. So there's a lot of reasons. Essentially, he's making his case for Ethereum and not Solana. $10 from David. Wanting to allocate a few $100,000 to SWC and Metaplanet. I've seen you around 10 to 20x as the fastest horses. Do you think the time frame is within a year? Also, should Cypher be ditched like CleanSpark? I don't love any of the miners. I think Cypher has a little bit of an HPC play though, and I don't know a lot about it, so I can't answer your question on that part. And again, don't look at just max targets when I'm talking about SWC and Metaplanet. I think SWC conservatively, I think you could say 6 to 10x conservatively, like as targets, and get the fuck out at that time, not max targets. I give max targets because I think these things are possible, but that's never my base case. In Metaplanet, if you get 3 to 5x, that's cool too. Again, a 5x on a Metaplanet would be amazing. Could it do 10? Yes. Could SWC do 20? Yes. But I usually, like, again, we're going to look at all these other indicators like Pi Cycle Top and a bunch of others, and we're going to let you guys know when we think we're near the top anyway. So you'll have good information there. Hey, Jesse, what are your thoughts on SBET? I talk about it quite a bit. I think I talked about it in here. I think SBET has Joseph Lubin in it. I think Joseph Lubin is delusional. I think he's brilliant because he's a co-founder of Ethereum, but I think he's delusional in regard to it flipping Bitcoin. And so I don't like that aspect, but again, he's got a huge following. And then also you had one of their chief digital asset people. One sec, I'm going to have to adjust again for the billionth time. 1 second here. Ugh. Getting near the end of my capacity, I think. Yeah, but I think I think they've got a pretty good team. Again, the BlackRock digital asset guy that helped found IBIT is a part of that. But I think the BitMiner team is much better. Let's listen to some more Tom Lee here.
And believe it or not, Ethereum has what they call an inflation rate, or the rate of growth of tokens below that of Bitcoin. Now, the second
yes, more recently it has been because there's this concept known as the burn.
Part of all this is we believe the Ethereum treasury companies like BitMine are superior to holding Ethereum itself because we are increasing the Ethereum held per share. And again, Ethereum ETFs do not do that. And more importantly, Ethereum treasury companies are essentially crypto infrastructure businesses. Let me explain. We can increase your Ethereum held per share because a company can issue stock at a premium to the dollar value held of Ethereum.
Okay, so this is important. I want to answer one question, though. Somebody said, could you give a quick opinion on holding Sequoians and Game versus other treasuries? I hate Game. I hate it. I don't like any company that takes $15 million and takes $5 million of that and buys a fucking cowboy crypto punk. I'm 100% out of that one. Could it still do really well? Maybe. People are insane, but I don't care. Sequoians, again, I would still classify that as risky, but you got Ben Workman and some brilliant guys behind it. Then there's Burr, BRR. That has Jeff Park from Harvard, who's brilliant, and my boy Anthony Pompliano behind it. We haven't heard anything really publicly facing on that one. That one could be interesting. But I'd say, and maybe ASST could be interesting. So Sequoians, AST, BRR, these are some smaller ones that could be interesting. H100 just keeps buying every week. I like that. There's a lot of different Bitcoin treasury companies, but I personally would focus energy on Metaplanet and Sequoians as safer bets. And then if I was doing Ethereum, I would be doing BitMine, Miner, and SBET. I wouldn't be doing this other shit. Now let's listen to Tom Lee, who's talking about the ways that that they can increase Ethereum per share.
Per share. That means you are growing the company's overall holdings of Ethereum. Number two, you can issue convertible bonds or warrants, which take advantage of the inherent volatility of not only the stock, but the underlying volatility of Ethereum. Take a look at this chart. You can see Ethereum has more than 2 times the volatility of Bitcoin, meaning Ethereum treasury companies could actually get really attractive financing for convertible bonds. And in fact, if you look at options pricing, just even 18 months out, Ethereum options.
So he's talking about the convertible bond strategy and how these are going to look really good for Ethereum.
Have 33% greater implied volatility. Again, that lowers the cost for a company like BitMine if they issue convertible bonds. Number three, cool. The operations of BitMine itself can actually be used to buy more Ethereum. And interestingly, Ethereum generates a staking yield, and those rewards can be used to buy more Ethereum. And finally, there are other crypto treasury companies out there that hold Ethereum, and if they trade at close to net asset value, BitMine could use its stock to acquire another company. Now,
so he's just giving you his formula and his playbook for how he's going to make a shit ton of money with BitMiner. I think it's a good one. I'll post this in chat, but take some time and watch this video on your own. I think it would be asinine to not at least own a decent chunk of BitMiner. That's what I'm doing.
Now you might say to yourself, I don't think something holding a commodity like Ethereum should trade at any.
Real quickly, so Borgusio says, Jesse, is it worth it closing all positions on the other shit treasuries and keeping the top 4 dogs? I always have some of these other treasuries are like a fraction of the size, like 100 million, 300 million. I keep smaller amounts and things that can do really, really well and go up a lot. And then I have much larger amounts in my higher conviction bets. That's how I do it, but it's totally up to you, man. Good morning, Jesse. You start too early for my lazy California self. I'm here now, though. Let's get this bread. Yes, sir. I own 100K in BMNR, 100K in SBIT, and 100K in Bit Digital. So it sounds like you got a nice little split. I do think Bit Digital, I don't know if they're going to do better because of their kind of pivot into Ethereum, but they still have a mining business. I don't know. It's not as clean of a play. I don't like it. But I know they're doing other stuff too, and maybe I don't understand those other things very well. I want game to hit $1.10, then I'm out. If not, tax loss. And again, so as far as switching around, guys, think about tax implications too. I don't know you. I don't know if you're trading in an IRA like I'm trading in an IRA. It's really nice in the United States to hold things for a year because you pay a long-term capital gains rate that can be anywhere from 0 to 20%. And that's a lot cheaper than if you just have an IRA and you do a withdrawal from that and you get a 10% penalty unless you're doing it right and getting an annualized distribution and paying what essentially is income tax, which is kind of like short-term capital gains, which is double that of long-term. So I don't know. Just think about taxes.
Multiple to its holdings. Well, there's a lot of precedent for that.
Yeah, and I think Solana could do good too. Again, it's a fraction of the size of Ethereum, so you can win on all fronts, I think.
And I want to highlight ExxonMobil because ExxonMobil from 1990 to 2018 was the top 5 largest company in the S&P 500. But here's what's interesting. It was never valued on earnings. It was always valued as a multiple of its proven reserves. And as you can see, you could have spent your entire career, graduated college, worked on Wall Street starting in 1990, and then when you retired in 2018, Exxon was still a top 5 stock. Why should that be any different today for crypto, especially given that we are seeing Wall Street financialize the entire financial system onto the blockchain?
I think he's right. Now, again, I think that there could be a big dip in Ethereum, especially if it goes up to like 15K. Expect to have a big dip and lose a bunch of money if you hold that the whole time. I mean, that's just how things work, right? This last bear cycle, we went down into the 800s on Ethereum. So if we go up to 15K, we're up 20x. If we go up to 20K by some miracle, we're up 25, 30x. So you just have to remember, that if it goes up by 25x and people have made a lot of money and the world gets a little weird, even for a minute, they're going to bail out of shit that they've made a ton of money off of, and they're going to go into things that are more conservative. So, but outside of that, who knows? Maybe Ethereum does really well in this next cycle too, after we kind of see a bottom in Bitcoin, maybe drop 50% from wherever we get to.
I think a lot of companies are going to be increasingly valued on the value of their crypto holdings. And more importantly, or equally important, I think crypto.
I mean, I've posted, so real quickly, SBET, I'll just show you this because I did one for this real fast. I didn't do Bitminer yet. First off, SBET's getting ready to break out of Pennant, which is good. It's going to the upside. Secondly, I posted this. I said my target for SBET. I know this is going to sound insane, but people thought the same thing about my post on MicroStrategy, Tesla, Meta, Palantir, Hood, and more. But I think we'll land between 750 and 1900% this year for SBET. Note, this is if they maintain their pace of buying, ETH landing between 10,000 and 15,000. So what I'm telling you is I think that if we get to 15,000, we could see a price here that's anywhere between like 200, which is 10x from where we're at, all the way up into the 500 or 450s range, I think is what it is. I can't see too well right now. So a 20x, right? So yeah, so I think this could do really good. I think it can do really good, and I think Bitminer's the same way. Because again, if we're talking to 15,000 from where we're at right now, guys, we're talking about a greater than 200% return on Ethereum, and I think these miners can do at least 2 to 4x that. So if we're getting 200%, again, we at least get to 800 pretty quickly, and it's about 230 or 240. So we can get to that 1,000. I think the 1,000% is doable. One thing to note, though, is the golden retracement zone is at $100, so it's 5x from where we're at on an SBET. So to me, it would be smart to at least take 30% out at that level. And then if we get to the 200 level, I'm not going to lie, I'm out. If we get to 200 and we're up, I don't know what this says right here, 800% or something, I'm out. I'll take that money and run. You got to remember, I did all right over here too on SBET, writing this thing up, and then I sold some near the top, and then it crashed, and then I bought Bitminer and SBET on the crash, and now it's going back up again for another trip. So I'll have done pretty good off of this one, and I'll be happy with it. Hopefully that answers that question. Real quickly, I do want to see something else. I want to see what we have for news on FS Insight. Again, I don't show this all the time. I'm only on here a couple times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I do my show, guys. All right, let's take a look here real quick. So AI driving companies to cover their bases. All right, I'll probably look at that one. It doesn't look like there's a video with it, I don't think. Let me see here. Yeah, so I'll look at that one and see what is there, and then if it's interesting, I'll talk about it tomorrow. We got earnings results. Let's see here. And then I don't think we had anything new from Tom. We did have something from Mark Newton, it looks like, over the weekend, probably on Friday. So not today, but Mark Newton on Friday. I don't know if we'll look at that one or not, but let's look at earnings real quick here and see how we're doing on earnings. We've been doing really well, actually. So 7 companies are reporting this week, not a lot. We've got 90% of the S&P reporting. We'll probably stop here and don't really pay attention to the rest. 84% are beating estimates, median is 6%. This hasn't changed. It only got better as the earnings season kicked in. So all of that's good. And again, we don't really have much in the way of economic data. We've got about 13 minutes until the market opens. So let's finish this with Tom Lee. And then I think after this, guys, I'm probably done. I'll try and do charts on Wednesday, or I'll try and at least get some posted here, maybe today and tomorrow. I'll spend some time just updating some of my charts and getting them out there, and giving you targets for them. So I'll try and do that with the Bitcoin treasuries, the Ethereum treasuries, and the Solana treasuries, and see if I can at least get all those charts out there, and that way they're available to people on Discord too, and you guys can see it, and you know where we're sitting, and you know my latest thoughts on it, and then we'll go from there. But let's listen to this, and then I'm probably going to be out.
Crypto companies are actually infrastructure businesses. One, Ethereum is a proof of stake blockchain. So the Ethereum treasury companies are securing the Ethereum network by staking their holdings. Number 2, Ethereum generates a staking yield. That's GAAP revenues for Ethereum treasury companies. So there's native revenues actually being generated by your holdings. Number 3, staking secures the Ethereum network. That means the function of that is cybersecurity or network security. That's a business function that is part of supporting the Ethereum infrastructure. Keep that in mind. And number 4, over time, stablecoin issuers and those tokenizing real-world assets, they're going to want to stake ETH because they want to ensure that the layer 1 blockchain is healthy. That means we believe over time, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan are going to become large Ethereum holders, and Bitmine is getting ahead of that, and especially by trying to acquire 5% of the Ethereum supply. Now, that gets to the third point about the alchemy of 5%. I got a case study for you. Microstrategy, saw its stock soar from $13 to $408 from the time it started its Ethereum Bitcoin treasury strategy in August 2020. So just 5 years later, we saw a tremendous gain of 30 times return.
I mean, here's what I want to focus on here, and I don't know why Tom isn't doing that. Look what happened in the first year. So he's talking about it being up over here over 5 years, and that's great. But really, man, this is what I'm talking about. So you don't want to own these things in the bear, even though they'll probably do better than they did previously. You want to sell them into this strength, and then once the bear market in Bitcoin, once you think you found that bottom in Bitcoin, and I'm really good at finding the bottoms. I did a great job in the 3,000 level in 2018, 19, whatever time frame it was, and then again here in 2022 at the $15,000 level, I called it very clearly and said with 100% confidence, this is the bottom. And so I can find those, but you don't ride it all the way down again. So when we peak over here, you want to get out, and then once we've confirmed the Bitcoin bottom and you've done all your Bitcoin buying that you want to do, and you want to get riskier and dial up the risk curve, that's when we'll do this. That's when we'll get back into something like this, and then we'll get that, maybe it's 15x or 20x next cycle, because it'll be diminished probably, but maybe we get a 15x next cycle off of this.
Of 30 times return.
And again, the cycles could be just really long. They're going to get more boring. They're going to get longer, and they're going to get more boring. That's for sure.
The question is, how much of this return was generated by the rise in Bitcoin versus its treasury strategy itself? Well,
and when I was talking about like a 10, 15x, guys, I'm talking about Ethereum. So Bitminer at the bottom of whatever the next end of the cycle is, that could be a really fucking crazy return.
Bitcoin was 11,000 when they embarked on this strategy, and today Bitcoin's 118,000. So 11 times of that gain came from the Bitcoin price increase. That means 20x of the 30x return, or the vast majority of the return, was due to its treasury strategy. In fact, we've seen this with Ethereum. Ethereum has risen from the time we announced the strategy from 2,400 to 3,800, so 1.5 times increase, which is pretty good. But as you can see, Bitmine, because of its treasury strategy, has actually increased the price by 9.5 times. Okay, well, keep in mind, MicroStrategy achieved that treasury strategy by executing a series of financings that I've listed here, and this is not complete. Okay, well, in the first 6 months of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin strategy, they went from having $240 million of Bitcoin, that was their original purchase, and 6 months later raised $2.7 billion in 6 months, or 180 days. That's a lot of Bitcoin they raised. But take a look at Bitmine. Bitmine started with $265 million worth of crypto, and just 18 days later has $2.7 billion worth of crypto in cash. That means that Bitmine's...
Guys, look at the rate of growth here for Bitminer versus Strategy. Does this look interesting to anybody at all? So remember how MicroStrategy made people a shit ton of money. Look at how aggressive Bitminer is being at their additions versus MicroStrategy.
Achieved in 18 days.
This is it says rebase data 0, start of crypto treasury strategy. So at the start of their strategy for MicroStrategy back in the day versus Bitminer, do you see anything that's really interesting here? I can tell you this, the math looks way better on this one. And again, I think this is perfect timing on Tom Lee's part. Tom Lee is definitely going to be a billionaire.
What MicroStrategy did in 180. We are trying to become the Ethereum of MicroStrategy and trying to do this at what looks like a much more rapid pace. And again, that's 18 days.
With ETH having higher inflation, it doesn't anymore. Okay, so that's a common misconception. Let's look over here, not the validator queue. Let's look over here. So here's what you need to understand about Ethereum. Yes, it used to have a really bad schedule. If you go back here, we can actually see some of this if we change the time frame. So if you look over here, nope, not 5 minutes. Let's see here. So this is showing the annual percentage rate over time. There's one here that says, yeah, it shows the ETH, I don't know, 4 years and 6 days might be the longest. But you can see here after the burn, it slowed down the rate. It made it to where if the network was really congested and busy, they actually burn a bunch of Ethereum. And so it ends up making it more valuable the busier that it is, and making it more expensive to transact. And the reason they did that was because if it's more expensive to transact, then maybe some people don't do their transactions right away and they wait for it to get a little more reasonable. So it's kind of a control mechanism to make it to where people don't spam the network with bullshit transactions, and at the same time don't over congest the network. So that's interesting, but let me see here. Yeah, let me go back to that time frame because it does look like that's right. So 4 years and 6 days, right? So you can see how the inflation rate used to be really, really high. It would just go up and up and up and up and up, right? But since then, something's happened since the merge. That is when, so you had the burn. That was one implementation on Ethereum where, again, it helped with congestion. But then you had the merge, where with the merge, that made it to where proof of work, that because I used to use video cards to mine Ethereum. You can't do that anymore. You can do that, I think, with Ethereum Classic that nobody remembers, just like Bitcoin Cash that nobody remembers. But with Ethereum Classic, again, so that the mining physical hardware thing ended. They did a staking, which is like a software decentralized way of doing it. It's not as good as Bitcoin. It's not as secure as Bitcoin. It's just not. Having physical power is way better. I don't want to go into all the reasons why. There is no great flippening that's going to happen. But the narrative is going to be strong in this one, and it's going to have a better multiplier because it's 20% of the size. But if we look over here, you can see how the inflation rate has gotten much, much lower. If we actually change this to 5 minutes, it says it's 1.1%. But really what you want to do is probably go out about a month. And if you go back out a month, it's 0.74%. So the rate of inflation has actually gotten way better on Ethereum. Most people don't realize this. And what Tom Lee told you a minute ago, at least at the time of making his video, is that the inflation rate of Ethereum was actually lower than that of Bitcoin. And now you know, too, from me talking about it, that the inflation rate could actually go negative because it did for a period of time. If you look over here, because of the burn and then with heavy congestion that was on the network, in early 2020 or late 2023 and early 2024, the inflation rate was actually negative 0.37%. So you got something that can actually have a reduction in new supply that is also being staked to earn funds from a company like Bitminer that has a business that can help them buy more in the way of funds. And then at the same time, the price is going up, making them richer. And then at the same time, they're able to operate at a higher NAV to be able to buy more. It's just really, really good math. It's really good math. And this is a fucking beautiful chart that I'm going to take a picture of real quick because I got to remember to post this, because this is a big fucking deal, man. This is a big fucking deal. I hope you realize this is a big deal.
Versus 180 days. And then gets us to the fourth point. Many of you asked us to provide a net asset value of the crypto holdings. Well, As of July 27th, the company has 600,000 Ethereum tokens, which is worth $2.3 billion, $23 million worth of Bitcoin, treasury cash unencumbered of $369 million, or a total treasury net asset value of $2.7 billion.
This is weeks ago.
Divided by fully diluted shares outstanding, that gets you to a $22.84.
So this is weeks ago, guys. That was Tom Lee tried to tell you about this when it was $22.84 a share. We're about near 60 right now, so it's up 200% since Tom tried to tell you down here that you should buy this bitch. Well, I guess it was over here somewhere before we launched up. So he was trying to sell you on this product and tell you why it was a good thing, and a lot of people didn't listen. It bottomed here recently, and we called the bottom over here in the 30 range. So it's up 100% since that time. And Tom tried to tell you over here in the 20s, mid-launch, that this thing was a good investment and that you should be a part of it. He said Coincilium is garbage. I don't know if it's garbage. I think it's going to definitely underperform, and it's not the best. And it could be garbage. So yeah. I was torn on selling CleanSpark Mara last week. Might do today. It depends. If you have options like I do, it's not even worth selling them because they're down so much. You might as well just ride it out and see if they turn into something. Especially if you have ones that go out. I think my farthest ones go out to December. So I'm just gonna sit on it and chill. But if you have stock, why would you look at a stock where I'm telling you that your best return is 150% versus ones where I'm telling you can get 1,000? It's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. Sorry, he said it could be garbage. Yeah, it could be. It could be. It could be. People don't understand ETH as much as they did BTC a couple of cycles ago. Extremely good for those who have missed early BTC cycles. Yeah, you could stake it, and again, it's a smaller cap, so it's got a good narrative. But your ultimate goal, in my opinion, should be turning it into more Bitcoin because that's going to be the safer thing on the ride down, and cash potentially, and Tesla, and maybe some ARGT, my Argentinian fund, guys, is going to do really well with lower rates. Emerging markets do really well with lower rates. So I plan on getting like Anduril, ARGT, so that I'm investing in Argentina, Tesla, some cash, maybe a couple of other investments that I think could still run even in a bear market or in war. But yeah, so I think BMNR, though, Tom tried to tell you. He tried to tell you. You guys should have listened to him. Let's keep going.
Since NAV, or if we're rounding $23 net asset value. So that is the NAV of the crypto treasury holdings. Now that's changed a lot because on July 8th, there was only $4.
Yes, I think CleanSpark can go to 20. I think CleanSpark can go to 25 to 34. But at the same time, though, that's going to be a fraction of what I think this other stuff can do. I don't know what I'll probably get in pre-IPO. But I don't know what the IPO. I don't know if we have one. I heard next year.
Of crypto treasury holdings per share.
We got 1 minute, guys. We're going to finish this video and then I'll probably bail. We'll probably get a little bit of market open. Again, Bitcoin dropping into market open and closing the CME gap is awesome.
But in the ensuing 18 days, BitMine executed a series of transactions to increase it by $19 per share, creating $2.4 billion of shareholder value. And today gets you to a net asset value of $23 per share, or a 6 times increase in just 18 days. So you can see BitMine is moving very rapidly to increase net asset value per share, or what we call velocity. And of course, you're going to ask us about the future. What is ahead for us? Well, again, we want to get to 5% of Ethereum's token supply, but we're going to do some things in the middle of that. We want to become a Made in America validator network, 100% compliant, but 100% of our operations geographically in the United States. That's very important to us.
Agreed.
The second is we want to be a community participant in Ethereum and really strengthen the ecosystem, whether that's working with Pudgy Penguins or the Ethereum Foundation or others. We also know that there's going to be opportunities for us to make selective investments that provide strong upside to shareholder returns, but really our focus is on getting 5% of the Ethereum network. And that is the alchemy of 5%. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.
So again, guys, I think this is a great video, and I hope people are paying attention. Tom Lee is a brilliant man. Pudgy Penguin, yeah, I don't own any of that. But yeah, so we got Bitcoin dropping into the market open. I don't know if there's a lot of other news-related events. We've got BMNR up 12.62%. Maybe we'll look at this one real quick. I have not drawn all this out. I need to. I haven't done like my fib-based extensions. I probably could now. Yeah, I probably should now. Let me do that real quick. We'll do a trend-based extension off the bottom. I'm going to count the bottom right over here more locally in 2025. You could do it in September, but honestly, I think this is going to be a better read. Some of this, you have to just look at it over time too and figure out where you draw it. Trend-based extension goes from the lowest low recently to the highest high, down to where you retraced to once you think you found the bottom. Why do I think we found the bottom in BMNR? Let's take a look here real quick. Before we do a trend-based extension, we'll do a fib retracement. So we'll draw it from like over here up to here. And so we dropped underneath the .618, the golden retracement zone, and we actually went all the way down to the next one, overshot it, and then quickly jumped above it. So yes, I think this is bottomed. It doesn't get much more bottomier unless the company's failing. And does anybody think that BitMiner is failing right now? I do not. So let's go back here. We'll do our trend-based extension. Now that we feel confident with a high degree of confidence that we've hit the bottom, we're going to go over here and again from the lowest low to the high to where we believe the bottom occurred. And so what we're looking at here is an extension essentially where we don't hit the .618 until, and it looks like we're right here for opening. We don't hit that until we hit the 327 range. This is a 477% increase off of the 14% that we're up this morning. So that's my like lowest target where it's like, okay, maybe I'll sell out of a decent chunk, 30-40% of this holding. And then I think the next one is really going to be the 640 level. I can't read what that number says. Is that a 600,000% or 1,000% increase? Yeah, that makes sense. So a little over 1,000% increase or right around that. I would probably be out at this level. I think that's probably the right move for this cycle. Again, de-risk. Don't worry about the last doubling. Be happy with all the doubles you got in between. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking for BMNR. I'll get this chart updated too on the Discord. Do you have any thoughts on Cooler? I don't really pay much attention to it. It's been growing, but it hasn't been growing like by an insane amount. Again, let's just look over here at some of the Bitcoin treasuries. There's just so many to keep track of. I've got so many that I'm already looking at. So I don't know. I think I'm pretty good. Let me just real quickly, I'm going to see where things are sitting. Let's look at our crypto bubble and see how the crypto market's doing today. So this is the market cap. It says and week. I don't want to do week though. I want to do, actually, maybe week is good. I want to do day. But the thing I wanted to show you guys here is that Bitcoin's up 4.3%, BNB's up 4.6%, XRP's up 5.5% after shitting on everybody. Sol is up 8.1%, which isn't bad. But like Link and Ethereum, some of these bigger plays here, they've done the best. And Ethereum is really the one you want to focus on. Link is a good narrative. I don't know. Maybe it'll do really well. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter to me. Like shit coins just do not matter to me. Yeah, let's look at what else we have going on here today. Let's look at the stock heat map and see how things are sitting. So, I need to make sure I buy some Tesla, some more Tesla today too. We'll focus on Tesla on Wednesday, guys, and also just broader financials across all markets and the economy. We'll do all that stuff earlier. So in pre-market, we were pretty flat with Tesla up 1.64%. Love to see it. If we jump over here real quickly to the daily, we have Tesla up 3%, and we have the Magnificent Seven getting beat up a little bit over here, and some of these electronics getting beat up. I kind of like to see it. Real quickly though, I do need to buy some shit real quickly here. Maybe I'll just do it on my phone for Tesla on my SoFi account of all things. I've started using SoFi again. Put a bunch of money in it that I didn't put down for a deposit on a house, and I bought a bunch of Tesla stock. So I need to make sure I should have another 50,000 clearing into this bitch, and I want to get that stuff bought. So sold Mara, CleanSpark stock. Well, hopefully you're getting some treasuries in there. SBET is down 0.73%, it looks like, and right now. If I'm looking over here, guys, I'm seeing 3.5% up on Smarter Web today in the United States, but it's up 6.4% in the UK. It's getting to a breakout zone, guys. This is good stuff. Let me just show you. You got a very limited window to buy the Smarter Web company. This is on the U.S. side. The side I normally look at and show is the U.K. side with the British pounds. But this is easy and the targets are good, so I'm just going to show it to you here. So we went all the way down, guys, 72% on Smarter Web Company. That's pretty painful. Only down 65% now. Just to get to my next target, which is the previous all-time high, we're getting to the 164% from here. And then I think we could, before a major retracement even, potentially get up to the $12 range. And then maybe we have September hit and we start to go lower. So I'm pretty excited about the Smarter Web company too, but it's doing all right today. Let's see how MetaPlanet's doing this morning. Up 2.68. So again, a lower multiple than a Smarter Web company, right? We expect that to see Smarter Web outperform MetaPlanet, and I think that's probably the case. Even though I think both of these are going to be great, it's just a matter of which one fires when. Today we have MicroStrategy up 3.56%. That's interesting. So that's interesting because we had this cup and handle pattern. We broke above it. We back tested and then failed and went underneath, but we failed quickly and are now appearing to find support under a very large amount of volume. If you look over here, it's all underneath of us. And we're getting higher. And this is just something where it looks like maybe even a bigger, here's what I'll show you. A bigger cup and handle is in play now. So right here, right? Like if you look at this is a bigger, better looking cup and handle. So I do think that MicroStrategy is set to go higher. I don't know what the ultimate high will be for this. The measured move previously wanted to send us to the 7s. Maybe it gets us up to the 850, 900 range before we top out. Maybe even we get to 1,000. I think that's all you can expect, though. So why be involved in that, and why not be in something that can make you a lot more money? This is me. All right, let me see here. Oh, I do have buying power. I got buying power. Buying power. I'm going to buy some shit. Let me get my Tessies up in here. Get some testes. Okay, here we go. Buy. All right, but yeah, so I think again, we're doing good. We dropped into the market. We're already starting to bounce a little bit, getting closer to 120,000. I love all of that, actually. So I think that's simply great. Let me see here. Using a margin. All right, so I'm going to buy that much. All right, so I own $250,000 to $300,000 in Tesla right now, guys. So I have been buying Tesla. I am excited about it. But again, MicroStrategy looks great. It's doing what we talked about right here. So if we hit this thing, again, it's going up just like we like to see it. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Let me see chat. 1,400. Oh, in here watching? Is that what we hit at one point? We might have. It's only a little over 1,000 right now. Tesla, you think you were going to dump back to 300? No, I think Tesla's doing great. I'm not sure what you mean. So again, here's what I posted. I actually got a ton of views on this. I said we were breaking out of this channel. We're doing that right now. I'm going to turn this green. I'm that confident about this. And our measured move for this is roughly 600. That's what we're going to do. I'm really good at Tesla, guys. I'm really good at it. Now, did I put all my money in it and perfectly call the top with my investments and the bottoms each time? No. I've been allocated to other things because, again, I try to remain diversified. I'm never 100% Tesla, but I've done really well off of it. If anything, my biggest mistake in Tesla, guys, was here. It palantired, right? It palantired. It went up. It was as low as $11 pre-split, guys, over here, $11 pre-split. And it went as high in 2 years as 400. So 11 to 400. It did a palantir and then some. And so I sold out of options I had way too early. You can see the first Model Y deliveries over here. And then that just sent this thing to the moon. So it already had a good run with expectations for the Model Y. Then people got scared that it wasn't going to do well, and then it just fucking went straight up. I sold out too aggressively. I didn't think that Tesla was the play. So it just goes to show that sometimes you need to think more long-term, and you can't always look at just like a PE ratio or a Fibonacci as far as being like, this is my exit point. You can use that when it makes sense, but sometimes you just got to let your winners win. And I say this as somebody who's done really fucking good. Right now, I'm still over 20x since I retired from the low here in 2020. So I've done really good. I'm beating the shit out of Nancy Pelosi. People are all excited about her because she's up 600% in 10 years. Bitch, I did 20x. I did 20x in 5, and I think I'll be 80 to 100x by the end of this year. in a little over 5 years, 6 years. That certainly beats the shit out of Nancy Pelosi. Rumble, is Rumble going up? Did they buy Bitcoin or something? So Aspet's up almost 5% now, guys. Smarter Web Company in the UK is up 5. DFDV, that's a Solana treasury fund, is up 7.5. Upixi is down 0.5. We're looking at MetaPlanet here. Let's look over here. We'll just go through this list on the side. We're looking at BMNR up 19% almost on the day. We're seeing Smarter Web up almost 5 in the U.S. market. And again, then it does its breakout, and then things get fun. So this is going to be a fun week, guys. And then MetaPlanet up 4, also looking pretty cool. MicroStrategy up almost 4, looking cool. And and Tesla up almost 3%. So Ass and Titties is up how much? 10%. Asset entities, that's what I said. Oh, it's up 11.55 now. Let's look at that chart real quick. Maybe we'll get into some charts. I'm not feeling too bad right now. So here's what I wanted to point out here. Yes, we had a big drop. Yes, we ended up closing this gap over here. We didn't close this gap, but I mean, seriously, do you think we're going to? That's like starting over. So you have this channel in here that we did briefly touch underneath. This is how you get rid of the last of the bears. And by the way, Bitcoin is bouncing in open, just like we talked about. It's at 120,100 now, if you look at the bottom right corner. But you can see this channel here where this has been really steep to the downside. And this is on the daily. If you can draw this 2 ways. You can draw it to where the candle bodies, that's the thick part versus the wick. And that's probably the way it should look. So this is a falling wedge. And if we look at this, and we could even draw it like here now, we'll just draw it here since we did overshoot. This is actually a really good pattern for going higher. And this one, it says 61 million. I don't know. Is that actually the market cap? Does anybody know? Can you guys look at what the market cap is of asset entities and throw it out? Sometimes you can't take the trading view at face value because it can differ. It can differ at times. So you got to make sure that you're looking at it right. But yeah, so that's a cool one, right? We don't hate that. We don't hate that at all. Burr is boring. Burr is the one that, again, is Jeff Parks, the Harvard grad that I think is just a brilliant guy. And then Anthony Pompliano. But right now we're getting no love. 344 million is what it says for the cap. I do believe that to be right. I do believe that's the right number. Liquid F is up 1%. Coincilium, has it done anything? It's like dead. Sequoians is up 5.47%. Let's look at the chart on that one. Again, I got more faith in this one than I do Coincilium, if I'm being honest. So this is an interesting consolidation to get us back to the golden retracement zone. It's right over here at like $3. That's a good number. I think it's going to hit that. I think it could hit 4. I think it honestly will probably hit 550 and get to its previous all-time high before this is all said and done. That's pretty easy at 312%. It says 32 million cap. Can you guys tell me if this is 32 million? I feel like it is not. If anybody has the market cap, if you could look it up here, maybe with Grok on what it is in Sequoians. But again, it's a smaller cap. I do know that. And I guess, you know what we could do? We could go to Bitcoin treasuries. I think they might have that in here. Let's see here. Sequoians is right here at number 22. It says enterprise value is 300 million, but the market cap is 193 million. So again, a little bit different, right? So that's I would argue that that's a pretty good risk to reward, right? That's a small cap. If this company does anything good, getting to a 1-2 billion is pretty easy. If that happens, my options will go from garbage to something much prettier. Again, I like H100. I think that's a stock that could do well. Let's see, what else do we have here? What's Bit Digital doing today? Bit Digital's up 6.81%. That's a pretty good number. Aspet's up almost 7% now, guys. Saquons. Yeah, but I don't pay attention to Cooler really much at all. But today's looking like a good day, guys. Make sure you use this site too, bitcointreasuries.net. It's beautiful. I think I'm going to call it, but here's the deal. I think the next couple of days are going to look good. I think CPI will be interesting tomorrow. And I think PPI Wednesday will be probably the big profit teller. Don't forget, too, that Donald Trump is going to be meeting with Putin in Alaska. This is the first time since the times of Obama where Putin has been on American soil. I feel like that's a pretty big deal. We'll see what happens with that. We have a lot of other stuff going on too. Jacob says, and do you think we see under 400 MSTR? Under? I mean, maybe. Anything can happen over the short term, but do I think that's going to happen over the long? No. I think it would be very short-lived. Bitcoin's bouncing beautifully right now, guys, and Ethereum is still a rocket ship to the moon. We haven't looked at that chart. We should probably do that before I go, and then I'll call it after this. So, guys, if we're looking at Ethereum here, this is basically like an ascending triangle, or one could say it like a pennant pattern, or, again, a W bottom. There's a lot of things you could say that are from a technical landscape. I've got a trend line here that goes to the way back. On the weekly, it looks cleaner, but it goes all the way back to 2016, where we found support here in 2020, March of 2020, the pandemic. And then it turned into support over here again in June of 2022. And then now I think what's going to happen is I think it'll be our resistance line. So it has me thinking that Ethereum can go all the way to 20,000 this cycle. That is more than 5x from where we are, or I should say less than 5x from where we are, but almost 400%, which is a big fucking number. And again, I'd probably get out of most of mine, my multipliers by 10,000 to 15. I'd probably be out because I don't need that last little bit. But I do think this will turn into resistance where it had been support all these previous times. And then you can see it trying to figure out what to do here. The Ethereum narrative was not there. The market was not strong. Rates had been raised at the highest rate in history. And again, it turned into resistance up here. So it would be perfect for this thing to stop right there. If it got to that level, you better be fucking out. Get your Bitcoin. Gave me $5. Thank you, sir. Gnome, thanks for another great episode. Get some rest. Coincilium is green. It's up 0.14%, guys. Get ready to get rich. I'm glad I own that 1.2 million shares of that thing that is up 0.14% right now. SBET's up almost 10, guys. It's up 8.5. We're going to make a lot of money. I love you guys. I think that's it for today. I'm going to call it here. Somebody asked about a video, though. They asked about a video, that one video of my crypto boy talking about all his gains, the guy that has made 0 crypto videos since making this video last cycle and who probably is in no way still doing this. Let's listen to him talk about how his Bitcoin and Ethereum bags are treating you well. Bitminer's up almost 30% again today, guys. Fuck. That sounds cool. All right, I love you guys. I will talk to you on Wednesday. And again, I'll try and get some more charts published too between now and then. And let's enjoy making some money here. And let's go out with my pimp friend over here with his 50 fucking views. We're probably giving him, he's probably wondering why he's got so many people watching this video. Here we go. Right here. Peace out.
My crypto is up. You boy, that's the stuff. My crypto is legit. Yeah, boy, it's the shit. Remember when you said it was a pyramid scheme? Now I'm on the moon and on TV. Remember when you said it was a Ponzi scheme? I see you on the street in my Lamborghini. My crypto is up. Yeah, boy, that's the stuff. My crypto is legit. Yeah, it's the shit. My crypto